A 5-year lie and the truth left behind. My husband Michael left for a 6-year deployment to Africa with his construction firm. I kept our home alone. After a late night at work, I accidentally ran into his colleague who looked at me in shock and said, "Jessica, Michael came back 5 years ago." I took one decisive action. That night when my husband reappeared after 5 years, he crumbled. At 2 a.m., I finally shut down my laptop. My head was pounding after 3 consecutive nights of overtime. It had been 6 years since Michael Chen left, and I'd grown accustomed to this rhythm of life. Filling my hours with work meant I had less time to think about him. Tonight, a problem with a project launch required emergency fixes that had kept me at the office until now. Only a few colleagues from the tech team and I were left in the building. Dragging my exhausted body into the elevator, I pressed the button for the ground floor. It was then that I remembered today was our wedding anniversary. 7 years, I murmured unconsciously, fiddling with the ring on my finger. The elevator doors opened on the 12th floor, and a man in a gray suit stepped in. I moved aside, not looking up. Jessica Park. Startled, I lifted my head. Under the bright elevator lights, I recognized the face. It was Daniel Kim, Michael's colleague from the Africa deployment. I'd met him only once 3 years ago when he briefly returned to the States for a project debriefing, and I attended as Michael's wife. "Daniel, you're here late," I said, forcing a smile. "Just finished a video. Conference." He sighed. "The time difference with the Africa team is a killer. Looks like you were burning the midnight oil too." "Michael would be heartbroken to see you working this hard." My heart sank at the mention of his name. "How is he doing these days?" "It's been over 2 months since our last video call. He said the signal is terrible because the project is in a critical phase." Daniel's expression suddenly turned strange, hardening in a way I couldn't decipher. The elevator stopped on the ground floor. The doors opened, but he made no move to exit. "Is something wrong?" I asked. "Jessica," he hesitated, avoiding my eyes. "You really don't know." "Know what?" He took a deep breath, then stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Michael came back to the States 5 years ago." Time seemed to stop. I reflexively shot my hand out to block the closing elevator doors. What did you say?" "The African aid construction project ended 5 years ago," Daniel said, his voice urgent. "I remember it clearly. We flew back on the same plane. He said he was going to go home first and surprise you." I leaned against the cold elevator wall, my legs feeling weak. "That can't be right. We video call every week. He sends me his location. Things like that can be faked." Daniel's voice grew even lower. "I know I shouldn't be saying this, but it's been bothering me for years that you still think he's in Africa. I saw him in Midtown last year. He was with some woman. I called his name, but he pretended he didn't see me and just walked away." The blood drained from my face. The elevator started moving again, descending to the parking garage. "Are you sure?" "You weren't mistaken. We worked together for 3 years." "How could I be mistaken?" Daniel pulled out his phone. "I even took a picture. I was going to send it to you right away, but it felt like too much of an intrusion." On the screen, a familiar profile was visible. Michael, his arm around a young woman's shoulder, entering a high-end restaurant. The jacket he was wearing was the one I'd sent to Africa for his birthday last year. In that moment, my world shattered. "Thank you for telling me." My voice was surprisingly calm, as if I were talking about someone else. "Jessica, are you okay? What are you going to do? If you need help." "No, it's fine." I shook my head and took out my own phone. "Could you send me that picture?" "Of course." The photo arrived. Zooming in, I could see it was undeniably him. What drove the knife in deeper was the timestamp 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Michael had told me he was on a survey trip in the African wilderness and would be out of contact for 2 weeks due to the extremely poor signal. The elevator reached the parking garage, and the doors opened. "I'll be going now," I said. "Daniel, thank you so much for today. Are you sure you'll be okay? I can give you a ride." "I'm fine." I turned toward my car, my steps shockingly steady. Only after I got in the driver's seat and locked the doors did I finally begin to tremble. 6 years. A full 6 years. I had kept our home in this city, honoring a promise that didn't even exist. I scrolled through our chat history. Just last week, he'd sent a picture of an African sunset with the message, "When I get back, I promise I'll take you here to see the real thing." Liar. Tears of rage began to fall, not of sorrow. I wiped them away and started the engine. Instead of home, I drove to the small condo we had bought in Long Island City before our wedding. We'd originally planned to rent it out, but it had remained empty, a place I'd occasionally go to clean. On the way, I made 3 calls. The first was to Mr. Evans, a private investigator. I sent him the photo and asked him to find out everything he could as fast as possible. The second was to my best friend, Sarah. Sarah, I need to crash at your LIC condo for a few days, and I think I'm going to need some legal advice. The third was to my team lead at work. Something urgent has come up at home. I need to take a week off. I'm so sorry. I've already documented the handover for the project. After making all the arrangements, I took a deep breath. Why would Michael do this? For 5 years, where had he been living, working? There were no major withdrawals from our joint account. Suddenly, something from 3 years ago came to mind. Michael had said he was getting a bonus from the Africa project and asked me to get a supplementary credit card for him under my name, saying it would be easier to use. I received the bills every month, but they were only for small living expenses, so I never suspected a thing. Looking back, it was just another tool for his deception. Arriving at the condo, I turned on my laptop and logged into our bank account. The supplementary card had no activity for the past 3 months. That was strange. Just last week, he claimed to have bought and sent me some local crafts. I found the tracking number. The origin wasn't Africa. It was a logistics center in Brooklyn. More and more pieces fit together, pointing to one cold, hard truth. My husband, the man I had loved for 10 years, had been deceiving me for 5. At 4 a.m., I finally organized my thoughts and made a list. 1. Gather all evidence, bank records, fake shipping manifests, etc. 2. Locate Michael's actual residence and trace his life for the past 5 years. 3. Assess the state of our joint assets. 4. Execute the plan. Around dawn, the initial report from Mr. Evans arrived. The woman in the photo was Laura Vance, 27, an interior designer. Michael Chen and Laura Vance were co-owners of a luxury apartment in the Athelred on the Upper East Side. More details to follow later today, the message concluded. The Athelred, one of the most expensive new condos in the city. I let out a bitter laugh. So you've been living quite the life, Michael. At 8 a.m., I put on makeup, dressed in my most professional suit, and drove to the Athelred. The doorman stopped me. I'm here to see Michael Chen in 1802B. I'm his sister, I said, with a smile, handing him a box of expensive chocolates I'd just bought. It's a surprise visit. The doorman glanced from the chocolates to the Lexus. I was driving the car registered in my name that Michael had bought before he left. Just a moment, ma'am. I'll call up to confirm. My heart pounded. If Michael answered, it was all over. But the doorman hung up the phone. No answer. They must still be asleep. Would you like to wait in the lobby? No, that's all right. I'll leave this gift with you. Could you please give it to him when he comes down? I maintained a perfect smile. Could I get a visitor's pass for next time? With the pass in hand, I left the building but didn't go far. I parked across the street next to a coffee shop and waited. At 10:47 a.m., a familiar figure appeared at the entrance. Michael. He was holding the hand of a young woman. They were laughing, and she was carrying a grocery bag from Whole Foods. It looked like they were just returning from a morning shopping trip. My nails dug into my palms. Seeing him after 5 years, he looked younger. He was wearing designer casual clothes I'd never seen before, his hair perfectly styled. Meanwhile, I had fine lines around my eyes from years of loneliness and overwork. They disappeared inside. I started the car. There were no tears, no screams. Instead, a cold determination solidified in my heart. Michael, did you think I would just cry and beg like some abandoned woman? No, you're wrong. I'm going to make you pay for these 5 years of deceit in a way you could never imagine. And the first step is to bring you down tonight. I checked my phone. The full report from Mr. Evans had arrived. Michael and Laura had been together for 4 years and bought the apartment 2 years ago. 1 million down, 1 million on a mortgage. Michael was currently working as a project manager at a construction firm with a salary of around $150,000. Interestingly, his marital status was listed as divorced. The irony was that the CEO of that construction firm was the father of one of my college friends. I dialed a number I hadn't called in 9 years. Mr. Davies, it's Jessica. Jessica Park. Yes, I need to ask you for a favor. Leaving the Athelred, I drove straight to a law firm. My friend Sarah was waiting for me downstairs. Dressed in a sharp suit, she rushed over as I got out of the car. "Jess, are you really going to do this?" Without giving him a second chance, Sarah asked, her eyes full of concern as she took my hand. "It's been 5 years." "Sarah, 5 years he's been lying to me." My voice was frighteningly calm. "For those 5 years I deposited money into our joint account every month because he said the conditions in Africa were harsh and he needed an emergency fund. When my parents were sick and hospitalized, he said he couldn't come back because the project was too busy. Now I know. It wasn't that he couldn't come. He just didn't want to." Sarah sighed and put her arm around my shoulder. "Let's go. Mr. Peterson is waiting." Mark Peterson was a top divorce and property dispute attorney Sarah had recommended. In his office, he meticulously reviewed the documents I'd brought, his brow furrowed. "Miss Park, based on the information you've provided, Mr. Chen's actions constitute severe marital fraud," Mr. Peterson said, adjusting his glasses. "However, legally proving he was intentionally missing for 5 years is difficult since you maintained contact." "But all that contact was fake," I said, holding out my phone. "The locations he sent were spoofed, the photos were downloaded from the internet. Even his video call backgrounds were virtual. I checked last night, he used professional green screen software." Mr. Peterson nodded. "That's a crucial point. We will need a tech expert to verify it. As for our assets, we have a joint account, but most of our money is in accounts under my name. Before he left, he transferred most of his assets to me, saying it would be easier for me to manage." I gave a bitter smile. "It's ironic, isn't it? Thanks to that, the situation is actually in my favor." "What about the apartment on the Upper East Side? It's co-owned with that woman." I showed him Mr. Evans's report. The down payment was $1 million. No such amount was ever withdrawn from our accounts. "Then he either earned that money separately," Sarah interjected, "or his parents gave it to him. His family was well off, weren't they? They immigrated to Canada 3 years ago, and we've barely been in touch since," I said, pressing my temples. "During these 5 years, he even stopped me from visiting his parents on holidays, always making up some excuse." Mr. Peterson made a note. "We need to clarify the source of that money. If it was paid with assets acquired during the marriage, you can claim a share even if your name isn't on the deed." "I don't want a share," I said coldly. "I want him to pay." "Jessica, I understand how you feel, but the law is rational," Mr. Peterson said gently. "Your advantage is that Mr. Chen doesn't yet know you've discovered the truth. We have enough time to gather evidence and build a strategy." "I've already got a strategy," I said, sitting up straight. "Tonight I'm going to make him reveal himself." Sarah and Mr. Peterson stared at me. "Today is our wedding anniversary. As usual, he'll probably send a message or call." I showed them my phone's history. Every year he says, "I'm sorry I can't be there with you again." Tonight I'm going to break that tradition. How I'm going to give him the feeling that I might have found something out, but without certainty. I'll make him anxious enough to walk right into his own trap. I looked at Mr. Peterson. From a legal perspective, if he admits to his deceit himself, what impact does that have? It would make the case much stronger, especially for claiming emotional damages. Mr. Peterson's eyes lit up. "Do you have a specific plan?" I nodded and pulled a printed plan from my bag. 30 minutes later, I left the law firm with a set of initial legal documents prepared by Mr. Peterson. Sarah walked me to the parking garage. "Jess, are you sure you can handle this alone? Do you want me to stay with you tonight?" "No, I have to do this by myself." I squeezed her hand. "Thanks, Sarah. After this is over, I'm buying you the best bottle of wine." "You bet you are." "We're drinking the most expensive one," Sarah said, trying to sound cheerful. On the way back to the condo, I got a call from Mr. Davies. "Jessica," I looked into it. "Michael Chen has been with our company for 3 years. He's a good performer, got promoted to PM last year." Mr. Davies sounded somewhat embarrassed. "But his marital status is listed as divorced, and there's no mention of you on his resume." "I see. Thank you for letting me know, Mr. Davies," I said, maintaining my composure. "I have one more favor. Could you please make sure he doesn't find out I'm investigating?" "Of course, Jessica. If you need anything, just let me know." That young man. My goodness. I never would have imagined. After hanging up, I pulled the car over. The tears finally came. Not for myself, but for the 10 lost years of my youth and for the naive woman who once believed love was everything. I wiped my tears, fixed my makeup, and drove on. Back at the condo, I spent an hour organizing the evidence. Chat logs, screenshots of the fake locations, fraudulent shipping, manifests, bank records. I categorized and scanned everything, creating digital files. At 3 p.m., I turned on my computer and logged into an old email account I hadn't used in years, the one Michael and I used when we first started dating. It held our first love letters and photos. I selected a few of the most symbolic pictures, one on our college campus, one from our first trip together, our smiling faces at our wedding. Then I began to write. Michael, today is our wedding anniversary. 7 years already. At our wedding, you said you'd be by my side for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. I cried my eyes out, then thinking I was the happiest woman in the world. For these past 6 years, I've lived alone, worked, and taken care of everything in our home by myself. My friends say I'm strong, but only I know how empty I feel when I wake up in the middle of the night and touch the cold pillow next to me. Last week, I was looking at old photos and suddenly realized something. I can't clearly remember your face anymore. Not your features, but the expressions you make when you talk, the crinkles by your eyes when you smile, the way you'd tap your fingers on the table when you were thinking. How long has it been since we had a real conversation? Whenever we video call, you always rush to hang up saying the signal is bad. The gifts you send are always delivered by mail, never with a handwritten card. Michael, I've been having strange dreams lately. Dreams where you actually came back a long time ago but are hiding because you don't want to see me. When I wake up, it seems so absurd. How could you ever do that to me? But today, after working late, I ran into Daniel Kim. He said something strange that's been making me feel so anxious. I showed him a picture of you, and he said you look a little different from the man he remembers. Of course you would. It's been 6 years. People change. Just promise me one thing. Next time we video call, could you show me the room you're in, the place where you live? I want to be a part of your life more, even if it's just through a screen. Forever yours, Jessica. I reread it 3 times. A perfect tone of wistful love mixed with a hint of anxiety, suspicious but not certain. Enough to make him nervous, but not enough to make him take drastic measures. I clicked send. Now it was a waiting game. I calculated the time difference. If Michael were really in Africa, it would be 9 a.m. End there. He usually checked his email during his lunch break. I turned off the computer and forced myself to rest. It was going to be a long night. At 7 p.m., my phone rang. It was Michael. I took a deep breath and answered. Michael, Jessica, I just saw your email. His voice was slightly tense. The background was completely silent. Why would you say something like that? What did Daniel say to you? Oh, it's nothing. I deliberately made my voice sound tired. I think I'm just exhausted lately. My mind is playing tricks on me. Was today busy? Yeah, a bit. With the project. He paused. Jessica, don't think strange things. I'm fine here. Just really busy. Once this phase is over, I'll definitely take a vacation and come home. Okay, I replied softly. Michael, can we video call now? I miss you. Silence on the other end. It's not a good time right now. I'm outside. The signal's bad. Outside. It's 7 p.m. In Africa, isn't it? It must be dark already. But it sounds so quiet where you are. I'm indoors. Talking with a colleague. His voice was now noticeably flustered. Jessica, what's gotten into you? Did you hear some rumor? A rumor, I repeated. What kind of rumor? Another silence. No, it's just, I'm worried about you. You don't sound well. Michael tried to lighten the mood. Isn't work too stressful? You need to take care of yourself. I will, I said, staring into the darkness outside my window. Michael, if there's something you're hiding from me, tell me now. I can forgive you. What are you talking about? Of course I'm not hiding anything. His reply was too fast, too firm. My heart sank. Even now, he still chose to lie. Okay then. I'm a little tired, so I'm going to hang up. Happy anniversary. Wait, Jessica. I ended the call. A few minutes later, a text message came through. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for our anniversary again. I'll make it up to you when I get back. I love you. I stared at the message, a wave of disgust washing over me. How many times had he said similar words over the past 5 years? And every time, like a fool, I believed him and waited. At 9 p.m., I changed into dark clothes and slung a small backpack over my shoulder. Inside were a power bank, a small camera, a voice recorder, and some of the documents Mr. Peterson had prepared. I drove to the Ethelred. I sat in my car at the coffee shop across the street. At 10:15 p.m., I saw Michael rush out of the building. He looked around nervously before hailing an Uber. I immediately started my car and followed. The Uber drove around the city for a bit before stopping in front of a quiet tea house. Michael got out, checked his surroundings again, and quickly went inside. I parked around the corner and took out my small camera. Through the window, I could see Michael sitting across from a middle-aged man talking with a serious expression. The man looked familiar. Racking my brain, I realized it was Michael's cousin David who worked at a bank. I zoomed in. On their table were what looked like real estate documents and insurance policies. I filmed everything. My heart was racing. Why would Michael be meeting his cousin this late at night with documents like these? Their conversation lasted about 30 minutes. As David left, he patted Michael's shoulder with a heavy expression. Michael sat alone in the tea house, his head in his hands for a long time. I waited patiently. Finally, he got up, paid, and left. But he didn't go back to the Ethelred. He headed in a different direction. I followed, maintaining a safe distance. 15 minutes later, he entered an old apartment complex. I recognized it. It was where his parents used to live before they emigrated. It seemed they hadn't sold it yet. Michael stood below the building for a long time, looking up at a window, then lit a cigarette. I never knew he smoked. After finishing the cigarette, he took out his phone, hesitating as if deciding whether to make a call. Finally, he dialed a number. Almost simultaneously, my phone rang. The familiar name Michael lit up the screen. I didn't answer right away. I let it ring 7 times before pressing the call button, my voice deliberately sleepy. "Hello, Michael. Why are you calling so late, Jessica? Were you sleeping?" His voice was a little hoarse. "Just laid down." "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I just wanted to hear your voice." He paused. "Jessica, if I did something wrong to you, could you forgive me? Here it comes." He was finally starting to probe. "That depends on what it is," I said quietly. "Michael, what did you do?" Only heavy breathing came from the other end. "No, it's just a thought I had. I've been neglecting you for so many years." He was avoiding the question. "Hey, you said you wanted to change your car, right? I've saved up some money. Should I send it to you?" "No, my car is fine," I replied calmly. "You keep it. The environment in Africa isn't good, so use it to buy yourself some vitamins." "Jessica," he suddenly choked up. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "What are you sorry for?" "Everything. For not being there with you. For making you handle everything alone." His voice grew smaller. "Sometimes I think, maybe you would have been happier if you had married someone else." "Don't say that." I gripped the phone tightly. "I've never once regretted choosing you. The words were once true, but now they were just a miserable irony." "You're such a good person, Jessica." "Too good," he sobbed. "Get some sleep. I still have some things to take care of." "Okay. You don't overdo it either." After hanging up, I watched Michael slump to the sidewalk, his shoulders shaking as he cried. For a moment, my resolve almost wavered. But then I remembered the 5 years of lonely nights and tear-soaked pillows, and my heart turned to ice again. Michael cried for about 5 minutes, then stood up, wiped his face, and straightened his clothes. As if nothing had happened, he hailed another Uber. This time, the destination was the Ethelred. I didn't follow him anymore. I had enough for one night. It was almost 1 a.m. when I got back to the condo. I organized all the materials I'd gathered, backing them up to the cloud and an external hard drive. Then, I made a decision. I turned on my computer and booked a flight to Portland, Maine for the next afternoon. Then I emailed my company, extending my leave to 2 weeks. Finally, I sent a text to Michael. "Michael, I'm going to Portland for a business trip tomorrow for about a week. The signal might be bad there, so don't worry. Take care." After sending the message, I turned off my phone and removed the SIM card. I replaced it with a new burner SIM. With everything done, I stood by the window looking at the city lights. This city where we once dreamed of our future together was now just a place of lies and betrayal. But it was okay. The game had just begun. At 7 a.m., I woke up on schedule. The biological clock, forged by 5 years of living alone, was frighteningly precise. I opened the curtains and the morning sun streamed in. The flight to Maine was at 3 p.m. I had plenty of time to disappear. My phone with the old SIM lay turned off on the nightstand. I put the new SIM card in a burner phone and texted Sarah. "Going dark for a week. Old number is off. This is the new one. Keep it secret." A reply came back almost instantly. "Got it. New info from Evans. Sent it to your secure email. Be safe." I opened my laptop and logged into the new email account known only to Sarah and Mr. Evans. His report was there. Michael Chen, 5-year record employment, hired by Davies Construction Group 3 months after returning to the U.S. Started as a general engineer, promoted to project manager after 2 years. Salary progression: year 1, $80,000. Year 2, $95,000. Year 3 onwards, $150,000 plus project incentives. The Athelred apartment purchased 2 years ago. Total price $2 million. Down payment $1 million. Mortgage $1 million. Source of down payment $500,000 from Michael Chen's personal savings, salary, and bonuses from Davies Group. The remaining $500,000 was transferred from a private account belonging to a Martin Vance. Martin Vance, retired engineer, confirmed as Laura Vance's father. Laura Vance, 27, interior designer. Salary approx. $70,000. Met Michael Chen 4 years ago during a project collaboration. Has been living with him for 3 years. Presents as his wife publicly. Numerous affectionate photos with Michael on social media, referring to him as my husband. Michael's parents immigrated to Canada 3 years ago. Almost no contact with relatives in the U.S. Michael sends them $1,200 monthly. Other matters: purchased a high-value life insurance policy 1 year ago. Beneficiary: Laura Vance. Also purchased an $80,000 car for Laura under his name. No other hidden assets or significant debts found. The joint account with Jessica Park shows only minor expenditures over the last 5 years, with most of the deposited funds remaining. I stared at the screen, absorbing every detail. Laura's father paid for half the down payment. What did that mean? Did her family know Michael was married? If they did, they were accomplices. If they didn't, then Laura was a victim too. But either way, it didn't change the fact of Michael's betrayal. I scrolled down. Mr. Evans had attached photos. Michael and Laura grocery shopping, eating at a restaurant, holding hands on a walk. Each picture was a stab to my heart, but I forced myself to look through them all. On the last photo, I froze. Laura's stomach was slightly rounded, and Michael's hand rested gently on it. They were looking at each other, smiling. Pregnant. I slammed the laptop shut. I went to the window and took a deep breath. For 6 years, I had wanted a child so badly, but Michael always said we should wait until he came back from Africa. What a cruel excuse it now seemed. My burner phone vibrated. A scanned file from Mr. Peterson. He had drafted the initial divorce filings based on the evidence I'd provided. A message came with it. Miss Park, the evidence is nearly perfect. Mr. Chen's actions are clear grounds for an at-fault divorce, which puts you in a very advantageous position for asset division. However, I recommend we attempt to negotiate a settlement before filing formally. It can save time and emotional distress. Of course, the decision is yours. I replied, understood. But there's something I need to do first. Proceed with caution. Avoid any actions that could be used against you. Yes. Thank you. I put the phone down and started packing. I didn't need much. A few changes of clothes, necessary documents, my laptop, and one sealed plastic bag. Inside were our marriage certificate, a few of our photos, and the letter he wrote me the day he left. Jessica, just wait for me for 6 years. When I come back, we'll never be apart again. I took out the letter and read it one last time. Then slowly and carefully, I tore it into tiny pieces and threw it in the trash. At 9 a.m., I went to the bank. Our joint account had about $300, 0 inches. It mostly money I had saved over the past 6 years. I scheduled a large withdrawal but only took out $50, 0 inches cash, transferring the rest to my personal account. The teller was a friendly middle-aged woman. Ma'am, what do you need so much cash for home renovations? I smiled. We've been married a while, time for a change of scenery. Oh, how wonderful. Your husband must be thrilled. I hope so, I said, maintaining the smile, though my heart was ice. From the bank I went to the law firm, signed a few documents, and formally submitted my retainer to Mr. Peterson. If you don't hear from me within a week, please proceed with the lawsuit as planned. Where are you going? Have you ensured your safety? Don't worry. I just need some time and space to think. I didn't specify my destination. At 12 p.m. Back at the condo, I took care of one last thing. I sent a text to Michael from my new burner phone. Mr. Chen, this is Mark Peterson, Jessica Park's legal counsel. Miss Park is unavailable due to an urgent personal matter and has delegated the handling of this affair to me. Miss Park wishes to discuss the terms of a divorce with you. Please contact me within 3 days. If no contact is made by the deadline, we will immediately initiate legal proceedings. Mark Peterson-esque. Contact number. After the message was sent successfully, I took out the SIM card and snapped it in half. At 2 p.m., I arrived at JFK with my suitcase. Before boarding, I called Sarah from a payphone. I'm about to leave. I'll be out of touch until next week. Don't worry. Jess, are you really going to be okay alone? So far away, I need to completely detach from this environment to think clearly about what to do next, I said, looking at the planes outside the window. Don't worry, I can handle it. All right, but you have to text me once a day to let me know you're safe, with our secret code. Deal. Our college dorm room number. Love you, friend. Me too. Hanging up, I cut the last tie to my past. The boarding announcement was already playing. I walked towards the gate without looking back. As the plane took off, I looked down at the shrinking city below. It once held all of Michael's and my dreams. Now only the ashes of lies and betrayal remained. I closed my eyes, trying to sleep, but my mind was a whirlwind. If he came back 5 years ago, why choose to lie? Was it just because he fell in love with someone else? Or was there another reason? The late-night meeting with his cousin, those real estate documents and insurance? It's Therese. An uneasy feeling stirred within me. Ma'am, would you like a drink? A flight attendant's gentle voice broke my thoughts. Just some water, please. Thank you. As I took the water, a question popped into my head. How would Michael react to the lawyer's text? Panic, anger, or relief? Probably all three. But regardless, I had only given him 3 days. In 3 days, whether he contacted Mr. Peterson or not, the lawsuit would begin. The plane climbed through the clouds into brilliant sunshine. I pulled down the window shade and opened a book from my bag. I tried to calm my mind with reading, but the words just danced on the page. Excuse me, the middle-aged woman next to me said quietly. You don't look well. Are you all right? Only then did I realize I had been trembling. Oh, I'm just a little cold. I'm fine. Here, take this, she said, pulling a soft cashmere shawl from her bag. Please use it. No, really, it's fine. Don't be silly. When you're traveling, people should help each other. She smiled. I'm on my way to visit my daughter. She works in Portland. Are you on vacation? Yes, something like that. Getting some fresh air. That's wonderful. Have a great time. Maine is beautiful. The ocean has a way of healing the heart. She patted my hand. Whatever is troubling you, the ocean will make it feel smaller. I nodded and gave her a grateful smile. Sometimes the kindness of a stranger feels warmer than the comfort of those you know. After a 2.5-hour flight, the plane landed at Portland International Jetport. A blast of cool, crisp air hit me, a stark contrast to the humid city I'd left behind. I took off my coat and breathed in the salty air. As planned, I hadn't booked a hotel, instead choosing a quiet bed and breakfast near a small coastal town. The owner, Martha, was a kind-hearted woman. When I told her I was there alone to clear my head, she gave me the room with the best ocean view. Honey, if you've got troubles, you just look at that ocean and let 'em all go. Yell at it if you have to, she said, handing me the key. Dinner's on, so come down to the dining room whenever you're ready. The room was neat and clean. Through the large window, the blue ocean stretched out before me. I dropped my luggage and went out onto the balcony. The sound of the waves crashing felt like a whisper. I turned on my burner phone. A single text from Sarah. You there, I replied. Yep. Arrived. Safe. Dorm 307. Then I did the most liberating thing I'd done in 3 days. I changed into a swimsuit and ran into the ocean. The water was cold, but it enveloped me gently. I swam out until my feet no longer touched the bottom. Lying on my back, looking at the sky, all my worries suddenly felt insignificant. Michael's deceit, the 5 years of waiting, Laura's existence, the unborn child. In that moment, they didn't seem to matter. I stayed in the water for a long time until my skin was wrinkled. When I came out, Martha was waiting on the beach with a towel. You can't stay in there like that. It'll just make the heart sickness worse, she said, handing me the towel. Come with me. I've got something to show you. I followed her to the backyard of the B&B. There was a small vegetable garden and a few fruit trees. Martha picked a ripe golden apple, washed it under a spigot, and cut a slice for me. Try this. We grow 'em ourselves. Sweet as can be. I took a bite. The sweet juice exploded in my mouth. It was delicious. Do you run this place all by yourself, Martha? My husband passed 2 years ago. Heart trouble, she said calmly, picking another apple. Felt like the world was ending at first. But the living have to go on living, don't they? Look at those trees. They don't stop growing just 'cause someone's gone. People have to be like that too. Got to set down your own roots, bloom on your own. I quietly ate the apple. I felt something hard inside me begin to melt. You get a good night's sleep tonight. Tomorrow I'm taking you somewhere, Martha said with a mysterious smile. You'll love it. Where? It's a secret. Now let's get you some food. I made some clam chowder. It's real good. At dinner I met the other guests, a young couple, a solo photographer, and a young mother with her child. We sat around a large table sharing food and stories. The photographer James showed us stunning pictures he'd taken in Tibet. The mother Emily talked about the joys of traveling with a toddler. The couple was planning to go kayaking tomorrow. No one asked about my past or wondered why I was alone. At this table, we were just strangers who had happened to cross paths sharing a meal. I felt a sense of ease I hadn't felt in years. After dinner, I went back to my room and opened my laptop. Hesitantly, I logged back into that old email account. As expected, there were dozens of unread emails, all from Michael. He had been emailing about once an hour since last night. The first was from 11 p.m. Jessica, what's this about a lawyer? You want to divorce me? Why, let's talk. Please. The next at 2 a.m. Pick up your phone. I'm begging you. We can talk about this. Whatever the problem is, we can fix it. 4 a.m. Where are you? I'll come to you. Don't do this to me, Jessica. I love you. 7 a.m. I was wrong. Just give me a chance to explain. Please. The most recent one had arrived 30 minutes ago. Jessica, I went to your office. They said you're on leave. Where are you? I'm so worried. Please pick up the phone, or at least let me know you're safe. Every email was filled with anxiety and pleading. The old me might have softened, but the new me felt like I was watching a play. I didn't reply, didn't read anymore, and logged out. I took a shower and looked at myself in the mirror. 35 years old. Fine lines around my eyes, skin a bit dull from long nights at work, but my eyes were still clear. In these 6 years, I hadn't withered in loneliness. Instead, I found my value in my work and learned to solve all of life's problems on my own. Michael must have thought I was still that small woman who depended on him, the wife who would wait and forgive unconditionally. He was wrong. I changed into my pajamas. Just as I was about to get into bed, my phone suddenly vibrated. An unknown number. Hesitantly, I answered. Hello, Jessica. Is that you? It's Michael. His voice came through the receiver, hoarse and frantic. I finally reached you. I got this number from Sarah. I had to beg her for it. I gripped the phone, saying nothing. Jessica, please say something. I know you're angry. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. But let's just talk. Please tell me where you are. I'll come right now. There's no need, I finally said, my voice so calm it surprised me. My lawyer will be in touch. No, please don't do this. Jessica, I love you. I really do love you. Those 5 years. I had my reasons. I can explain. What reasons? What reasons make a man pretend to be in Africa for 5 years? What reasons make a man live with another woman, buy a house, and even get her pregnant? My voice began to tremble, not with sorrow but with rage. The other end fell into complete silence. How did you know? His voice was barely a whisper. That doesn't matter. What matters, Michael, is that our marriage ended the moment you decided to lie to me. This is just the legal process. No, it's not over. Jessica, listen to me. I'll explain. He stammered. I came back then because I was sick. A serious illness. I didn't want to be a burden to you. Stop right there, I cut him off. Every word makes me sick. Jessica, please, just one more chance. One last chance. You already had a 5-year chance, I said coldly. Every single day you had the chance to tell the truth, but you didn't. Michael, I don't hate you, but I can never forgive you. Money the house, I'll give you whatever you want. Please come back. Let's start over. What I want is my freedom, I said. The freedom to divorce you. Without waiting for his reply, I hung up, and I blocked the number. As the phone screen went dark, only the sound of the waves remained in the room. I walked to the window. Under the moonlight, the ocean glittered as if sprinkled with crushed silver. Faint music drifted from the distance. Someone was having a party on the beach, their laughter carried on the wind. I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. It felt like a weight that had been pressing on my chest was finally gone. Was Michael broken? Probably. Was he devastated? Most likely. But that was no longer my problem. After hanging up on Michael, I tried to sleep, but my mind raced. The moonlight spilled onto the ocean like shattered silver. The distant laughter from a beach party was a stark contrast to my quiet room. I got up and went out to the balcony. The salty sea breeze brushed against my face. Michael's voice echoed in my ears, that desperate pleading I'd never heard before. In our 10 years together, he had always been the confident, self-assured one, and I was the one who leaned on him, who looked up to him. This sudden role reversal felt strange. No, not strange. It made me wary. I knew Michael too well. He wasn't one to admit defeat easily. This display of desperation had to be a front for something else. At 1 a.m., still unable to sleep, I turned my phone back on, ignored the dozens of missed call notifications, and logged into my secure email. A new message from Mr. Evans was waiting, sent 2 hours ago. Miss, Park a new development. Mr. Chen visited a law firm this afternoon. However, it was not Mr. Peterson's firm but a small one in Queens. I followed him. He came out an hour and a half later with a grim expression. That firm specializes in divorce and property disputes, but has a poor reputation. Additionally, Miss Vance went to a private clinic this morning. Records indicate it was the obstetrics department. She stayed for 3 hours, then went straight home instead of to work. At the Athelred Miss Vance's parents visited shortly after Mr. Chen returned from the law firm. They stayed for about 2 hours and left looking very serious. Miss Vance did not see them out. Finally, Mr. Chen went to his cousin David's house this evening and has not yet left. I am keeping the location under surveillance. Analysis: Mr. Chen is seeking legal counsel and preparing to counter your divorce suit. Miss Vance's family is now involved. They may take action, so please be extremely careful. I stared at the screen, processing the information. Michael was fighting back. He was seeking legal help, maybe even planning a preemptive strike. Laura's parents were involved now, too. That would explain the source of the $500,000. Did they know Michael was married? If so, they were accomplices. If not, how had Michael introduced himself to them? The bigger question was why Laura had been at the clinic. A routine checkup doesn't take 3 hours. Could it be? I shook my head, not wanting to think about it. Laura and the baby in her womb were innocent. I didn't want to drag them into this war. But if her parents knew everything and supported the relationship, that was a different story. The sound of the waves suddenly grew louder. The wind had picked up and dark clouds obscured the moon. A distant rumble of thunder. A storm was brewing, and not just in the weather. I went back inside and sent a short reply to Mr. Evans. Continue surveillance. Pay close attention to any attempts by Mr. Chen to move or hide assets. I will transfer additional funds for your expenses. Also, can you investigate the background of Laura Vance's parents? After sending the email, I lay back in bed. Raindrops began to patter against the window. This storm was not just outside. The next morning, I woke to sunlight. The rain had passed, and the sky was washed clean. Martha was already busy in the kitchen, the savory smell of a breakfast bake filling the house. "Sleep well?" she asked, with a smile, handing me a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice as I came downstairs. "Yes, thank you. You mentioned you were taking me somewhere yesterday." "Yep, we'll go right after breakfast." She winked mysteriously. "You're gonna love it." During breakfast, the other guests trickled in. The photographer James excitedly showed us pictures he'd taken of lightning over the ocean last night. The couple was heading out for their kayaking trip and invited me along, but I declined, saying I had plans. "That's a shame," they said. "The water's supposed to be crystal clear today." Maybe next time, I smiled. It was probably the first genuine smile I'd had in days. After breakfast, Martha drove me down the coastal highway in her old pickup truck. About 30 minutes later, we arrived at a small, remote fishing village. It was a place with a few weathered houses and a handful of docked boats almost untouched by tourism. "This is where I grew up," Martha said, parking the truck. "Used to play here all the time as a kid. Come on, follow me." I followed her through the village to a shoreline of black, jagged rocks. Powerful waves crashed against them relentlessly, creating a spray of white foam. "I come here when I'm upset," Martha said, sitting on a rock and patting the spot next to her. "You just yell at the ocean. The waves take it all away." I sat down beside her. Facing the vast expanse of water, any problem truly did feel small. "Martha, when your husband passed, did you resent him?" I didn't know why, I asked. Maybe I was looking for some kind of answer from her. Resentment, she mused. At first, yeah. Why didn't he take better care of himself? Why'd he leave me all alone? But later I figured resenting him wasn't going to bring him back. It only made me miserable. So you forgave him. There's nothing to forgive. Living and dying, that's up to a higher power. It's not something he could control. She gazed out at the distant sea. The important thing is that the ones left behind have to keep on living. See those rocks? They get battered by the waves thousands of times a day, but they're still here. People have to be like that. We sat in silence for a while, the only sound being the crashing waves. You've got a heavy heart, honey. I can tell, Martha said suddenly. I don't know what it is, but let this old lady tell you one thing: don't waste your tears on someone who ain't worth it. Your preciousness is for someone who recognizes it. My eyes welled up. The greatest gift of this trip was probably meeting this wise woman. Thank you, Martha. What for? Let's go get some fresh seafood. My brother just brought in his morning catch. When we returned to the village, Martha's brother had already prepared a simple seafood feast in his yard. Freshly caught fish, clams, and shrimp cooked in the simplest way tasted exquisite. During the meal, Martha took a call and her expression hardened. After hanging up, she hesitated before turning to me. Honey, there's something I gotta tell you, but I don't know if I should. Please tell me. A man came to the B&B this morning, said he was your husband. I told him you went out and he asked where you went. I told him I didn't know. Martha frowned, but his expression was off. Not worried, but like he was hunting you down. So I didn't give him any information. Michael had found me. That quickly. My heart dropped. What did he look like? Tall, about 6 feet, kinda lean, wears glasses. Had on a blue shirt. Nice car, though. A Mercedes. It was definitely Michael. He had tracked me all the way to Maine to the very B&B where I was staying. Did he say anything else? Said he was your husband, that it was urgent? Even showed me a picture of you two from your wedding. Martha looked at me with concern. Honey, what's going on? If you need help, you just say the word. Thank you, Martha. I'll handle it, I said, trying to stay calm. Could you do me one favor? If he comes back, please tell him I've already checked out and you don't know where I went. No problem. But what are you going to do now? I thought for a moment. I should probably move. I can't cause any trouble for you. Nonsense, Martha waved her hand dismissively. If you don't mind, you can stay at my brother's place. He's got a spare room, it's quiet, and everyone in this village knows each other. A stranger shows up, we'll know in a minute. I looked at her brother, a sturdy, middle-aged fisherman. He nodded. Stay as long as you like. No charge. We'll just say I made a new friend. I couldn't possibly. Hush now. After we eat, I'll go with you to get your things. That man might still be lurking around, so we have to be careful. After the meal, we quietly drove back to the B&B. Martha had me wait in the car while she went to scout the situation. A few minutes later, she ran back, her face tense. He's still there. Across the street in the coffee shop, watching the entrance. We'll go in the back and just grab your stuff and get out quick. We snuck around the back of the B&B and entered through a small kitchen door. My room was on the second floor. Martha had me wait at the bottom of the stairs while she went up to pack my things. The wait felt excruciatingly long. Every second I feared Michael would suddenly appear. What would happen if he found me? Would he scream and fight in public? Try to drag me away? No, he wouldn't. Michael cared about his image above all else. He would never lose his composure in public. Still, I was terrified. The fact that he had found me so quickly meant he had deployed significant resources. How did he know I was in Maine? I'd bought the plane ticket with my ID, but if he had found a way to track my travel information. Got it. Let's go, Martha whispered, coming down with my suitcase. We slipped out the back door again, got in the car, and drove away. Only after we had gone a few miles did I breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you so much, Martha. Don't you mention it. For now, let's get you to my brother's place so you can rest. Don't you think about a thing. The afternoon in the fishing village was peaceful and slow. Martha's brother's house was modest but clean with a window that looked directly out onto the ocean. After unpacking, I sent a coded text to Sarah. 307. Safe. Relocated. Minutes later, a reply came. Be careful. He hired a P.I. Evans. Says Michael is tracking you. Probably found out you went to Maine from the flight booking. You should change your ID and contact info. So Michael was playing hardball. After a moment's thought, I emailed Mr. Peterson briefly explaining the situation and asking him to expedite the legal preparations. If Michael was already making moves, I couldn't afford to be passive anymore. In the evening, Martha brought me some necessities, food, and an old burner phone with a new SIM card. "This'll be safer," she said. "My brother's taking the boat out tomorrow. You want to go with him. No one can find you out on the water." "That's a good idea." After Martha left, I stood by the window watching the sunset paint the ocean gold. Night came early in the fishing village. Before 7 p.m., the sky was completely dark, and without the city's light pollution, the stars were exceptionally bright. The phone vibrated. The first text on the new number. It was from an unknown number. "Jessica, I know you can see this. Let's talk. Just once. I waited all day at the B&B where you were staying. At least let me know you're safe." Michael, how did he get this number? I had just changed the card. The P.I. he hired must have used special means, or maybe he was just bluffing. I didn't reply and immediately turned the phone off. Then I opened my laptop and began organizing all the evidence to send to Mr. Peterson. If the war had already started, I had to fight with everything I had. As the night deepened, the village fell asleep. Only the tireless sound of the waves crashing on the shore remained. I lay in bed, unable to sleep, Michael's shadow haunting my thoughts. The man I had once loved so much. How did he become this? My laptop pinged. A new email from Mr. Evans. "Miss Park, urgent situation. This afternoon, Mr. Chen went to the bank that holds your joint account and attempted to report your card as lost. He failed because he could not provide proper identification or the original marriage certificate. However, he may find other means. Laura Vance's parents met with a lawyer today. It appears they were seeking counsel regarding real estate. Since her father contributed to the down payment, the ownership of the Athelred apartment could become complicated. Most importantly, an unusual transaction occurred today at the bank where Mr. Chen's cousin David works. $50,000 was transferred from Michael Chen's personal account to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The recipient information is unclear. I am currently tracing the funds. I strongly advise you to take immediate legal action to freeze your joint assets and prevent Mr. Wei Chen from hiding further assets. Also, be mindful of your personal safety. It is likely he has already determined your general whereabouts." I shot up in bed, wide awake. Michael was making his move, and much faster and more ruthlessly than I had imagined. I immediately contacted Mr. Peterson, telling him the gravity of the situation. He advised me to authorize him to file for an immediate asset freeze and warned that Michael might try to create issues by claiming joint marital debt. Miss Park, it seems Mr. Chen is anticipating a divorce suit and is preparing for it on all fronts. It would be best for you to return as soon as possible. There are matters that will require your personal attention. Give me 2 more days, I said. I have things I need to sort out here. Understood, but please be safe. If he has indeed hired a private investigator, your location may already be compromised. After the call, I looked out at the dark ocean. The night in the village was so peaceful, yet I could feel a massive storm approaching. The next morning, I went out on the boat with Martha's brother. The small fishing boat rocked with the waves, but I felt strangely calm. Far from the land, far from all the chaos, there was only the sky and the sea. "Hold on tight, miss. Gonna haul up the nets," he called. I gripped the side of the boat and watched as his weathered hands pulled up the nets, which were writhing with silvery fish. The sun glittered on the water. Just then, my old burner phone rang. The screen showed a completely unfamiliar number. Hesitantly, I answered. "Is this Miss Jessica Park?" a strange man's voice asked. "Who is this?" "This is attorney Owen Miller. I'm calling on behalf of my client, Mr. Michael Chen. I'd like to discuss the matter of the divorce." I gripped the phone tighter. "Go on." "Mr. Chen is willing to make concessions in the division of assets. On one condition. You must immediately withdraw the lawsuit and sign a non-disclosure agreement promising not to reveal his private life to anyone, especially Miss Vance and his employer." I almost burst out laughing. Even in this situation, Michael was trying to control the narrative, worried about his reputation and another woman's feelings. And if I refuse, then Mr. Chen will be forced to prove through legal means that you also had faults during the marriage, including long-term neglect of your husband and failure to fulfill marital duties. This could impact the outcome of the asset division. "Tell him," I said coldly. "I'll see him in court." "Miss Park, I urge you to reconsider. Litigation is draining for both parties, especially for a woman who values her reputation." "Oh, Mr. Miller, let me give you some advice," I cut him off. "Tell Mr. Chen, that if he tries to threaten me one more time, I will release all the evidence I have, the proof he faked being in Africa, the proof of his cohabitation with Laura Vance, even the proof of her pregnancy. Tell him to think about who stands to lose more then." The other end was silent. "And one more thing. Tell him to stop harassing me and the people around me. I will immediately file charges for stalking and intimidation." And that's not just a threat. Without waiting for a reply, I hung up and turned off the phone. The fishing boat rocked gently on the waves, and Martha's brother hummed an old sea shanty, seemingly oblivious to the phone call. The sun was warm, the sea breeze refreshing. Everything was peaceful, but I knew it was the calm before the storm. Michael had played his hand trying to intimidate me through his lawyer. He failed. What would his next move be? Something more aggressive, or a reluctant compromise? I gazed at the endless ocean and made a decision. It was time to go back. Running away wouldn't solve anything. I had to face this head-on. Whatever Michael had prepared, I had to fight. Not for revenge, but for myself. To finally put an end to this 10-year chapter. "Uncle," I called out to him. "When are we heading back?" "Heading back now," he laughed, turning the wheel. "Thinking of home, I have to go back." On the boat ride back to shore, I began to plan my counterattack. The sun was brilliant, the sea glittering like broken gold. Martha's brother hummed his shanty, and I scribbled rapidly in a notebook. 1. Asset freeze, Mr. Peterson would have already filed the motion. The $50,000 Michael siphoned off must be traced. 2. Evidence consolidation. All fabricated communication logs, fake location data, and fraudulent shipping manifests need a technical expert's report to prove intentional deceit. 3. Witness procurement. Daniel Kim's testimony is crucial. He is the only third party who can directly attest to the fact that Michael returned 5 years ago. 4. Mental preparation. I must not be swayed by any tactic Michael might use: slander, threats, or emotional manipulation. "We're here," Mrs. Shout pulled me from my thoughts. As the boat docked, Martha was there to meet us. Seeing me, she breathed a sigh of relief. "You're back. You had more visitors. A man and a woman. Said they were his relatives? Michael's cousin and his wife. They were moving fast. What did they say?" "Asked if you were here. I told him you were out on the water. The woman kept trying to peek inside the house. I had to tell them to leave." Martha lowered her voice. "They're up to no good, I can feel it. Maybe you should hide somewhere else." "No, Martha." I shook my head. "I'm going back now. Back to the city, yes. I have to face what needs to be faced." I smiled and handed her an envelope with cash for my stay, a small token for her incredible kindness over the past few days. That afternoon, I booked the earliest flight back. While waiting to board, I turned on the old burner phone. Dozens of missed calls and unread messages, all from Michael and his lawyer. The most recent text had arrived an hour ago. "Jessica, I know you're avoiding me. Let's talk like adults. I'll agree to all your terms. Just please come back." All my terms, I couldn't believe it. As the plane took off, I watched the Maine coastline recede. This short escape had given me the strength to fight again. It was time to go home. The plane landed at night. As soon as I turned on my main phone, a text from Sarah popped up. "Where are you, Michael's lost it. He went to your parents' house." My blood ran cold. My parents lived in a quiet suburb in New Jersey. They were elderly, and my father had high blood pressure. How dare he? I immediately called Sarah. "What happened?" "At 4 p.m., Michael and his cousin went to your parents' place. He told them he was there to bring you home, that you'd had a breakdown from work stress and run away." Sarah's voice was urgent. "Your mom called me and I rushed over. He was putting on a whole performance, acting worried about your safety, even tearing up. Are my parents okay? Your dad's blood pressure shot up, but luckily I had his medication and gave it to him." I confronted Michael, told him I knew he'd been lying to you for 5 years. His face changed completely. He tried to make excuses, but I kicked them out. I gripped the phone. "Thank you, Sarah. Where are my parents now? They're at my place. Don't worry. You come straight here, too." After hanging up, I texted Michael. "Don't you dare go near my parents again, or I swear you'll regret it." He replied almost instantly. "Jessica, you're finally in touch. I meant no harm. I was just worried about you. Where are you? Let's meet and talk. Please." I didn't reply and took a taxi straight to Sarah's apartment. It was past 10 p.m. When I arrived, my mother, her eyes swollen and red, opened the door and pulled me into a hug. "Oh, my baby, you must have been through so much." My father sat on the couch, his face grim. When he saw me, he took a deep breath. That despicable man. How could he do this to you? Sarah gave me a glass of water and recounted the afternoon's events, how Michael had feigned tears, claiming I was suffering from depression and needed family care. Only when Sarah exposed his lies did he hastily leave. He said, "If you insist on the divorce, he'll take half of everything, including the house we live in," my mother said, wiping her tears. "That house was left to me by my father. What does he have to do with it? He can dream on," my father said, clenching his fists. "Over my dead body will he get a single penny?" Seeing my elderly parents suffering because of me filled me with guilt. For 5 years, I had always told them Michael was working hard in Africa and not to worry. It turned out I had been deceiving not just myself, but the people I loved most. "Dad, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for worrying you." I knelt before them. "I will handle this. I will not let Michael get his way." We talked late into the night. My parents insisted on fighting alongside me, but I refused. This was a battle I had to fight alone. The next morning, I went to Mr. Peterson's office. "Miss Park, welcome back." His expression was serious. "Mr. Chen's lawyer contacted me this morning and sent over a settlement proposal." I quickly scanned the document he handed me. The main points were that Michael agreed to the divorce but demanded 70% of our joint savings and ownership of the car registered in my name. In return, he would not hold me accountable for my long-term neglect. "He's dreaming," I said, tossing the paper on the table. "My thoughts exactly," Mr. Peterson nodded. "But this is evidence that he's starting to get desperate. He's afraid of the mounting evidence you have. How are our court filings coming along? They're nearly complete. We can submit them to the court today." Mr. Peterson paused. "And we've traced the $50,000 he siphoned off. It went to an account in the Cayman Islands. The corporate name is JM Investments, Ltd. It's likely a shell company he set up. Where did he get the money for something like that?" "That's the problem," Mr. Peterson said, adjusting his glasses. "Looking at his bank records for the past 5 years, besides his salary, there are several large, unexplained deposits. The total comes to about $400,000. $400,000. Michael's highest salary was $150. How could he have that kind of money while paying a mortgage and supporting his life with Laura? Could he have another source of income? Or maybe he took it from our joint account. Can we trace the source of that money? It will take time. If it's connected to illegal activities, we may need police assistance." Mr. Peterson looked at me. "Miss Park, there's something you should know. If it's discovered that a spouse has hidden or siphoned off assets during divorce proceedings, the court can award them a smaller share of the assets or even none at all. But we need solid proof. Then we'll find it." Leaving the law firm, I went to the bank and printed out the complete transaction history of our joint account for the past 5 years. Reviewing it carefully, I found something. Every month, an amount between $5,000 and $10,000 was regularly withdrawn under the description Project Material Costs. The total was nearly $300,000. Michael's explanation had been that he had to pay for materials up front for the Africa project, and the company would reimburse him later. But the reimbursements were never deposited back into the account. I took pictures of the records and sent them to Mr. Peterson. Then I made a decision. I was going to Michael's company, Davies Construction Group. The company's office was impressive. At the front desk, I said I was there to see Michael Chen. The receptionist smiled. "Mr. Chen is in a meeting right now. Do you have an appointment?" "No," I said calmly. "But I'm his wife." The receptionist's expression flickered. It seemed some people at the company knew about Michael's divorce status. "Please wait a moment. I'll call him." A few minutes later, Michael rushed out of the elevator, his face pale. He pulled me into a nearby lounge area and lowered his voice. Jessica, what are you doing here?" "Just came to see where my husband works," I said, looking him up and down. "You seem to have done very well for yourself these past few years. Let's go talk outside." "This isn't the place." "What's wrong with this place?" I raised my voice. "I'm your legal wife. I can't come visit you at your office." A few passing employees glanced our way. Michael grew more flustered. "Jessica, please don't do this. Let's go to a cafe and talk properly." "Talk about what?" "About how you lied to me for 5 years, or about your apartment with Laura on the Upper East Side, or maybe about the baby in her belly." Michael's expression shifted from panic to horror. How do I know?" I sneered. "Michael, I'm giving you 2 choices. 1, we divide our assets fairly and get a quiet divorce. 2, I'll see you in court. I will release every piece of evidence I have. I'll submit it to your company too. Are you threatening me? I'm giving you options, I said, looking him straight in the eye. The foolish Jessica who just waited for you is gone. I've learned something very important in the last 5 years. Even a kind person needs to have thorns. Michael stared at me, his eyes a mixture of anger, fear, and something I couldn't place. You've changed. Yes. You made me this way. I turned to leave. Wait. He grabbed my arm. If I agree to all your terms, will you really keep this quiet? That depends on your sincerity. Fine. I'll do it, he said through gritted teeth. Let's renegotiate the assets. But don't drag Laura into this. She's innocent. Even now he was protecting her. Innocent, I shook his hand off. Is she innocent for living with you knowing you had a wife, Michael? You are truly pathetic. I walked out of the building without looking back. As I passed through the revolving doors, the sunlight was blinding. I took a deep breath. I felt an unprecedented sense of liberation. My phone vibrated. A text from Laura Vance. I didn't know how she got my number. Miss Park, can we please talk? It's about Michael. I'm begging you. I stared at the message. After a moment's hesitation, I replied with a time and place. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. The cafe near City Hall. It was time to meet the innocent Miss Laura Vance. The day I was to meet Laura, I arrived at the cafe 30 minutes early and chose a corner table by the window. I ordered an Americano and waited. Outside, people bustled by each with their own story. I wondered what Laura's story was. Did she know the man she loved was married? If so, why did she stay with him? If not, how would she react now that the truth was out? At exactly 3 p.m., a young woman in a beige dress opened the door. She looked around nervously. When I raised my hand, she saw me, hesitated for a moment, then approached. Laura looked younger than in the photos, maybe 25 or 26. Her youthful face showed the clear signs of pregnancy. She sat across from me, unconsciously cradling her belly. Miss Park. Her voice was small. Would you like to order something? No, I'm fine. She shook her head, biting her lip. Thank you for meeting me. Let's get straight to the point. What is it? I maintained my composure. Laura took a deep breath. First, I want to apologize. I only found out last week that Michael had a wife. He told me he'd been divorced for a long time. You only found out last week, I raised an eyebrow. How long have you two been together? 3 years, she said, looking down. We met through a project. He told me he and his ex-wife divorced due to personality differences and she moved abroad. I believed him. So, you must have known that part of the down payment for the Aethelred apartment came from your father. Laura looked up, startled, her face turning pale. Yes. How did you… I investigated, I said bluntly. Your father gave you $500,000. She was silent for a long time before finally nodding. Yes. When we were buying the apartment last year, Michael said he was a little short on funds. My dad really liked him and gave it to us as a wedding gift. Do you know that for the past 5 years, Michael has been telling me he was on an aid construction project in Africa? He told me he traveled a lot for overseas projects. Laura's voice grew smaller. But I had no idea he was deceiving you, Miss Park. How far along are you, Miss Vance? 5 months, she said, instinctively stroking her belly. Congratulations, I said, my voice flat, stating a fact. But you do know that legally your and Michael's child will be born out of wedlock, right? Their inheritance rights could be limited. And if my marriage to Michael is dissolved due to his gross misconduct, he will be at a disadvantage in the asset division. That will affect your lives as well. Laura's face grew even paler. I don't care about the money. I just want this child. But Michael will care, I cut her off. The job he has, his status, his home, it's all built on a foundation of lies. When the truth comes out, how much of that do you think he'll be able to keep? What are you trying to say? Laura's voice began to tremble. I'm trying to say that you are a victim too, I softened my tone. Michael deceived me for 5 years, and you for 3. The only difference is that I know the truth now and you're still lying to yourself. That's not true. Really, I looked her straight in the eye. A successful man in his mid-30s, divorced for years, no children, all his family abroad, and he's away on business trips for several days every week. Did none of that ever seem suspicious to you? Laura avoided my gaze, clenching her hands. He hated it when I visited his office. Said it would look bad. I almost never met his friends. He said he wasn't a social person. His phone was always password protected. He even took it into the shower. She choked up. When I asked, he said it was because of sensitive business secrets. So what are you going to do now? I don't know. Laura looked up, her eyes red. I love him. and I'm pregnant with his child. You can't live on love alone. I took a copy of a document from my bag and slid it across the table to her. This is a record of the communications Michael and I have had for the past 5 years. There's an entry for every month. During these times, he was undoubtedly with you. Laura took the papers with a trembling hand. Her face hardened as she read through them. Finally, she covered her mouth, looking as if she was about to burst into tears. I can provide more evidence if you need it, I said. But my advice is to start making a plan for yourself and your child as soon as possible. Michael is not a man you can entrust your life to. Why? Why are you telling me this? Laura wiped a tear. You should hate me. I did, I admitted. But hate doesn't solve problems. The child in your belly is innocent. They shouldn't have to suffer for their parents' mistakes. Laura was silent for a long time. The quiet music in the cafe suddenly seemed very loud. I'll leave him, she finally said. But I need time. I need to get things in order for me and the baby first. That's a wise choice, I nodded. If you need legal advice, I can recommend a lawyer. No, that's okay. Laura stood up. Miss Park, I'm sorry for the pain I unintentionally caused you, and thank you for telling me the truth today. Take care of yourself, I said. She nodded and turned away. Her figure looked fragile and vulnerable from behind. I watched her go, a mix of complex emotions swirling inside me. Laura was both a perpetrator and a victim. Michael's lies had ruined the youth of 2 women. My phone vibrated. A text from Mr. Peterson. Lawsuit filed with the court. The summons will be served to Mr. Chen within 3 days. Also, I've discovered something new. Let's meet to discuss in an hour at the usual place. I sent a reply, paid the bill, and left the cafe. As I stepped out, a familiar figure came into view. Michael. He had been waiting for me. His face was a mask of fury. What did you say to Laura? He demanded, his voice thick with suppressed anger. I told her the truth, I said calmly. Is there a problem? What right do you have to interfere in my life? What gives you the right to say those things to her? I have the right as the wife you lied to for 5 years. I have the right as the woman whose marriage you destroyed, I said, not backing down an inch. And Laura has the right to know what kind of man she's in love with. You've ruined everything, Michael hissed. Now she's going to get an abortion and leave me. Are you happy now? I was stunned for a moment. I hadn't expected Laura to make such an extreme decision. But that was her choice, and I had no right to judge it. If that's what she decided, that's on you, not me, I said. Michael, you always shift the blame to others. You never look at yourself. What am I supposed to look at? Do you think the last few years have been easy for me? I was on edge every single day, worried you'd find out. Then why didn't you tell the truth? My voice rose in spite of myself. When you came back 5 years ago, why didn't you come to me? Why did you choose to lie? Michael faltered. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. It was because of Laura, wasn't it? I answered for him. You already knew her from Africa. When you got back, maybe she was pregnant, or maybe you just loved her more. So you decided to sacrifice me and our 10-year marriage. It wasn't like that he tried to protest, but his eyes wavered. Then what was it like? Tell me, Michael. Let me understand what I was waiting for all these years. People around us were starting to stare. Michael, noticing the attention, said, Let's go somewhere quiet and talk. Not here. Where would be good? The Ethelred. Your love nest with Laura. Or our home, the one you haven't set foot in for 5 years. Jessica, please. His voice was pleading now. Let's just talk properly. Okay, I was wrong. I'll do whatever you want. Just please forgive me. It's too late. I took a step back. The summons will be in your hands soon. I'll see you in court. Do you really have to be this cruel? You're the cruel one, Michael. I looked at the man I had loved for a decade. Suddenly, he seemed like a complete stranger. When you decided to lie to me 5 years ago, you should have known a day like this would come. I turned my back on him, ignoring his calls. After walking 2 blocks, I ducked into a bookstore and watched from behind a large window. Michael didn't follow. He just stood there, his head bowed like a statue. My phone vibrated again, another unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Miss Park, it's Laura. The voice on the other end was thin and tearful. I've thought about it. I'm going to have the baby. But I'm not going to live with Michael. My parents will help me. Thank you for telling me the truth today. It's painful, but it's better than living in a lie for the rest of my life. Are you sure? Being a single mother is going to be tough? I know. but it's my choice and my responsibility. Laura paused. And there's something else I should tell you. I think Michael might be embezzling money from his company. What I'm not sure. I just accidentally saw some strange transaction records on his computer once. When I asked, he said it was for project fund management, but it seemed odd. Do you have any proof? No. He's very careful, but I remember the name. It was something like JM Investments. I think it was a company in the Cayman Islands. The name matched the one Mr. Peterson had mentioned. Thank you for telling me, Laura. Take care of yourself. You too, Miss Park. Goodbye. After hanging up, I immediately contacted Mr. Peterson and told him this new information. He said the matter was serious, and he would investigate further, urging me to be careful as a cornered Michael might do anything. I left the bookstore and drove to my parents' house instead of my own. They looked relieved to see me. Jessica, that man, Michael, called earlier. Said he wanted to see your father. My mother said worriedly, Your dad just hung up on him. You did the right thing, I said, hugging her. Dad, Mom, from now on, if Michael or any strangers call, don't answer. If anything happens, call the police immediately. As if he'd dare, my father slammed his hand on the table. I still have enough strength to deal with a punk like him. Calm down, Dad. Your blood pressure, I soothed him. I will handle all of this. You two just stay healthy. After dinner, I watched TV with my parents, my phone on silent. Around 9 p.m., a text notification appeared on the screen. It was from Michael. Jessica, let's talk one last time. Tomorrow 2 p.m. At the usual place. You know where. If you don't show up, I'll have to resort to extreme measures. Don't make me do that. The usual place was the coffee shop near our university we used to frequent. 10 years ago, he had first told me he loved me there. I stared at the message, hesitated for a few seconds, then replied, Fine, one last time. The next day, at 1:50 p.m., I arrived at the coffee shop 10 minutes early. Located near the university, it had barely changed in a decade. The tables and chairs were more worn, the photos on the walls had multiplied, and the owner, though now with graying hair, was still the same man who hummed old tunes. Well, if it isn't Jessica. The owner's eyes lit up when he saw me. Long time no see. Are you here by yourself? Waiting for someone? Yes, I smiled. The usual table, please. He led me to our favorite spot, a corner table by the window. Outside was a large sycamore tree. In the fall, its golden leaves would blanket the ground. Michael isn't with you, the owner asked as he set down the menu. He's held up with work, I answered briefly. All right then. Let me know if you need anything. He tactfully gave us our space. I ordered a latte and waited. The sycamore leaves outside were beginning to turn yellow. Autumn was coming. 10 years ago, in this very season, Michael had confessed his love for me right here. Jessica, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. The rest of my life had been so short, barely a decade. At exactly 2 p.m., Michael walked in. He was dressed in a sharp gray suit, looking like he was on his way to an important meeting. He saw me, paused, then came and sat across from me. What did you get? He asked, his voice artificially bright. A latte. You're having an Americano. The owner came to take his order. He glanced at me, then at Michael, said nothing, and walked away. A short silence fell between us. A quiet pop song played in the cafe. Yesterday, once more. How ironic. You look good, Michael said first. You too, I said honestly. He did look good, more vibrant than I remembered. These 5 years must have been good to him. Jessica, he paused. Can we talk like rational adults? I've always been rational, I said, looking him straight in the eye. You're the one who made an irrational decision 5 years ago. He gave a bitter smile. I know. I messed up. I messed up badly. But nobody's perfect. Can't you just give me one more chance to make it right? How would you make it right? Turn back time? Or make Laura and the baby in her belly disappear? Michael's face hardened. Did Laura come to you? No, I went to her, I admitted. She has a right to know the truth. You. He lowered his voice, but couldn't hide his fury. What right do you have to interfere in my life? The right of your legal wife. The right of the woman you lied to for 5 years. The right of the woman whose youth you destroyed. My voice trembled, but I fought to keep it steady. Michael, I didn't come here today to hear you apologize. If apologies solved everything, we wouldn't need laws. Then what do you want, money? The house? Just name it. I'll give it to you. I want an explanation, I said, staring him down. A truthful explanation. Why? Why did you choose to lie instead of being honest? Why did you make me wait for 5 years without telling me the truth? Michael avoided my gaze and looked out the window. The sycamore leaves rustled in the wind. When I came back, Laura was already pregnant, he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. She was so young then, and I wasn't ready to be a father. I asked her to terminate the pregnancy, but she refused. When her father found out, he threatened to ruin my life if I didn't take responsibility. So you decided to hurt me instead. I was going to tell you. I really was. He turned his head back, his eyes welling up with tears. But every time we video called, I'd see the hope in your eyes, hear you say you were just waiting for me to come home. I couldn't bring myself to say it, I thought. Once Laura had the baby, once things settled down over there, I would slowly explain it to you. Slowly. When a year, 2 years, 5, I sneered. And what was your plan after she had the baby? Divorce me, and make Laura the new wife, or keep me as your secret mistress? No, it wasn't like that, he shook his head. The plan was, after the child was a bit older, I was going to break up with Laura and come back to you. The one I always loved was you, Jessica. Laura was just an accident. An accident, I repeated the word. It was so cruel. An accident that lasted 5 years. An accident you bought a house with and lived with. An accident you were willing to protect even at the cost of your wife. I know I sound like a monster, but it's the truth. Michael reached for my hand. I pulled it back immediately. These 5 years have been hell for me too. I felt guilty towards you, guilty towards Laura. This is my punishment. So, I lied to both of you, trying to keep both of you happy, just trying to survive until I couldn't hide it anymore. I thought I could handle it. He started to cry. I was going to do right by Laura and her family and then come back to you. I was even planning to tell her everything next month, that I was going back to my wife. Stop, I cut him off. Michael, you still don't get it. The problem isn't who you chose. The problem is that you chose deceit from the very beginning. You wanted to enjoy Laura's affection, but you didn't want to give up on my loyalty. You were too greedy. So, what was I supposed to do? Tell me, he suddenly yelled. The customers at the next table looked over. If I abandoned a pregnant Laura, I'd be human garbage. If I divorced you, I'd still be the bad guy. No matter what I did, I was wrong. You should have been honest, I said calmly. When you came back 5 years ago, you should have told me everything. Then maybe we could have figured it out together. Even if the result was divorce, at least I wouldn't have foolishly waited for 5 years. Michael fell silent. His shoulders slumped as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. You're right. I was too selfish, he said weakly. I was afraid of losing you, and I didn't have the courage to face the pressure from Laura's family. So I chose the most cowardly way out. So, what's your plan now? I asked. Laura is leaving you with the baby and I'm leaving you. What are you going to do? He looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Jessica, if I give up everything, can you give me one more chance? I'll quit my job, leave this city, and we can start over. Impossible, I shook my head. You can't glue a shattered mirror back together. And can you really give up everything? Your job, your status, your apartment, the child in Laura's belly? I can. If you want me to, I'll give up anything. No, you can't, I looked at him. Because you've never once truly understood me. If I took back a man who lied to me for 5 years just because of love, then I wouldn't be me anymore. The coffee arrived. We stirred our cups without a word. The clinking of the spoons sounded deafeningly loud. Then I'll see you in court, Michael finally said. His voice no longer held any pleading, only exhaustion. And I won't give up the assets easily. I've contributed to this family too. Contributed? I laughed. A contribution made with lies or a contribution made with betrayal. Think whatever you want. My lawyer will contact your lawyer. Fine, I nodded. Then we're done here. Wait. Michael stopped me as I was about to stand up. One more thing. That $50,000. That's money I'm owed. The value I generated for the company over the last 5 years is far more than that. What $50,000? Don't play dumb. The reason you had your lawyer dig into my accounts was because of that money, wasn't it? He sneered. That was my project incentive. It's legitimate money. You mean the money you sent to a Cayman Islands account? Michael's face froze for a second. I had hit the nail on the head. I sat back down. Michael, you didn't just lie to me. You lied to your company too, didn't you? Embezzling project funds, setting up a shell company to launder money. Do you know what kind of crime that is? No, that was a legitimate investment. Well, the SEC can be the judge of that. I stood up. Oh, and I almost forgot. I've already reported the relevant information to the police. Whether they decide to investigate is not up to me. Michael's face went from white to blue to a deathly gray. You went to the police. I just provided a tip, I corrected him. As I said, let the experts decide if it's legitimate or not. Jessica, do you have to go this far? He gritted his teeth. This far, I leaned over the table towards him, lowering my voice. Michael, for the past 5 years, when I woke up alone in the middle of the night when I was sick with no one to care for me, when I watched other happy couples and felt utterly alone. Between the two of us, who was the more cruel one, he opened his mouth but no sound came out. The court summons will arrive soon. Be ready for it. I stood up, took two $50 bills from my wallet and placed them on the table. This coffee is on me, a farewell gift for our 10 years. As I turned to leave, my hands were shaking but my steps were firm. When I walked out of the cafe, the sunlight was blinding. I shielded my eyes and took a deep breath. Jessica, Michael ran after me and grabbed my arm. I turned around. His eyes were bloodshot. If I go to prison, will you be happy? No, I said honestly. But I won't be sad for you either. Adults have to take responsibility for their choices. You and me both. I regret it so much, he sobbed. I regret coming back. I regret meeting Laura. What you should regret most is choosing to lie. I cut him off. Goodbye, Michael. No, let's just never see each other again. I pulled my hand away and walked to my car parked down the street. I started the engine and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Michael was still standing in front of the cafe, a shrinking statue. 2 blocks later, I pulled over, slumped over the steering wheel, and finally broke down crying. Not for him, for the 10 years of myself. For the foolish woman who believed in love, believed in promises, and believed that waiting would one day be rewarded. After I cried my heart out, I wiped my tears and fixed my makeup. Then I called Mr. Peterson. It's highly likely Michael is involved in corporate crime. I've also sent an anonymous tip to his company. Please proceed with the divorce as quickly as possible. It's best to finish before he's formally investigated. Understood. The court has already granted an expedited hearing. It's next Wednesday. And the asset freeze has been approved. Your joint accounts and real estate are all frozen. Good. What about the Ethelred? That is joint property between Mr. Chen and Miss Vance, and with a third party involved, it's difficult to freeze. However, we can argue that your share of marital income contributed to the $1 million down payment. Please do. I'm not conceding a single penny. After the call, I leaned back in my seat, an unprecedented exhaustion washing over me. My phone vibrated. It was Sarah. Did you talk? How did it go? I said everything I needed to. I briefly summarized the conversation. Are you okay? You sound exhausted. I'm fine. Just feel empty. Of course you do. 10 years of emotions don't just disappear overnight. Where are you? I can come over. No, it's okay. I want to be alone. I'll see you tomorrow. We can get dinner. All right. Remember, I'm always on your side. After hanging up, I drove aimlessly. Before I knew it, I was in front of the house we used to live in. No, the house that was now just my house. We bought this apartment when we got married. It wasn't big, but it was cozy. After Michael left, I redecorated. His study became my home gym. His walk-in closet became my office. I thought it would erase his traces. But some memories can't be erased. I opened the door, and sunlight streamed in. Dust motes danced in the light. After being away for 2 weeks, a thin layer of dust covered everything. I put on some old music and started cleaning. Wiping tables, sweeping the floor, throwing out expired food from the fridge. Keeping busy helped me stop thinking. While tidying my office, I found an old metal box on the top shelf of the bookcase. We bought it when we first started dating, a place to keep movie ticket stubs, train tickets, and all sorts of little mementos. I hadn't opened it once since Michael left. Hesitantly, I took the box down. It was full of memories. The ticket stubs from our first date, from our first trip, the love letters he wrote me, our photo booth pictures. At the very bottom was a photo album. I opened it. A younger us smiling foolishly at the camera. The backgrounds were our college campus, the beach, a mountaintop. We were so young then, our eyes full of light, believing the future was full of infinite possibilities. I turned to the last page. It was a picture of me alone. Michael had taken it just before he left. I was at the airport seeing him off, forcing a smile, but my eyes were filled with tears. On the back he had written a single line, "Wait for me. When I come back, we'll never be apart again." Never was so short. I closed the album, put it back in the box, and carried the box downstairs to the recycling bin. Some things have to be thrown away. Holding on only makes the wounds fester. Back in my apartment, my phone rang. An unknown number. "Hello, Miss Jessica Park. This is the Financial Crimes Division of the NYPD. We'd like to ask you a few questions regarding the tip you provided on Mr. Michael Chen's alleged corporate embezzlement. Would you be able to come down to the precinct?" The Financial Crimes Division was in a nondescript gray building near City Hall. I parked, took a deep breath, and went inside. 2 detectives greeted me. Detective Williams, a man in his 40s, had a stern expression. The younger one, Detective Miller, seemed more approachable. "Miss Park, please have a seat," Detective Williams said, offering me a bottle of water. "Thank you for cooperating with our investigation. We'd like to hear more about the embezzlement allegations against Mr. Chen." "I'll tell you everything I know," I said, trying to remain calm. "How did you become aware of Mr. Chen's potential involvement in financial crimes?" I told them the truth, from discovering he had returned 5 years ago to investigating the source of the funds for the Ethelred, to finding the $50,000 wire transfer to the Cayman Islands. "These are copies of the relevant evidence," I said, handing them a folder containing bank statements, real estate documents, and the PISE report. Detective Miller took the documents and reviewed them with Williams. The room was silent except for the rustling of paper. "Miss Park, you and Mr. Chen are married," Williams looked up. "Yes. We are currently in the process of a divorce. The first hearing is next week." "I see," he nodded. "Do you know anything about Mr. Chen's specific role or duties at Davies Construction Group?" "He's currently a project manager, but I don't know the specifics of his projects. We've been separated for 5 years." Effectively separated for 5 years. The 2 detectives exchanged a look. "Yes. He lied, telling me he was on a construction project in Africa, but he actually returned 5 years ago." I briefly explained the 5-year deception. Detective Williams took notes. "So you were completely unaware of his professional life for the past 5 years?" "Yes. I only recently learned the truth." "Then how did you obtain these clues, for example, the information about the Cayman Islands account?" "Through a private investigator," I said, honestly. "I hired him to look into Mr. Chen's activities and financial status for the past 5 years. This information was obtained legally. If necessary, the PI is willing to cooperate with your investigation." "That won't be necessary for now." Williams closed his notebook. "Miss Park, based on your tip and our preliminary investigation, we have found several suspicious circumstances. We will be opening a formal investigation. We may require your further cooperation in the process." "Of course. Anytime." "And one more thing," Williams's expression grew serious. "If Mr. Iswagunas Chen is indeed involved in criminal activity, he might resort to extreme measures when cornered. Please be extremely careful about your personal safety. If you sense anything unusual, contact us immediately." It was dark when I left the precinct. I pulled my coat tighter against the cool autumn wind and hurried to my car. Before starting the engine, I texted Mr. Peterson. "I've cooperated with the police investigation. Please proceed with the divorce as quickly as planned." A few seconds later, a reply came. "Understood. The court has agreed to expedite the process. It's highly likely a judgment will be issued at next Wednesday's hearing. Also, Laura Vance's father contacted me today." "Laura's father," I frowned. "What about he is demanding a share of the ownership of the Ethelred? He wants his $500,000 investment converted into an equity stake. This could complicate the asset division. That's a problem for Michael to solve. It's between him and the Vances. But Mr. Chen could argue that the $500,000 came from joint marital assets trying to reduce your share. Then we'll argue it in court," I texted back. "We have the bank records to prove the source of that money." "Yes. I will handle it. Please be safe." On the way home, I kept thinking about Laura's father. How much he must have liked Michael to give him such a large sum of money. Now that he knew the truth, how great must his anger be? As I drove past the Ethelred, I unconsciously slowed down. At the entrance, a familiar figure was arguing with the doorman. It was Laura's father, Martin Vance. He was agitated, yelling at the doorman, who looked helpless. A few minutes later, a car pulled out of the garage. It was Michael's. Mr. Vance immediately ran and blocked the car. I pulled over to the side of the road and watched from a distance. The car window rolled down and Michael leaned out. They seemed to be arguing. The distance was too great to hear, but I could see Mr. Vance growing more irate, even pounding on the car window. Michael got out of the car to calm him down, but Mr. Vance shoved him away. The doorman came over to intervene and a small crowd started to gather. Finally, Michael said something, and Mr. Vance seemed to calm down a little. They moved to the side to continue their conversation. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Vance left, and Michael stood there, pressing his temples, looking exhausted. I quietly drove away. The storm that began with a lie was now sweeping more and more people into its path. It was pitch black when I got home. After parking, I walked towards the apartment building and suddenly felt a strange unease. The light in the hallway entrance was out. It was completely dark. I turned on my phone's flashlight and cautiously entered. My footsteps echoed in the empty space, making my heart pound. As I passed the second floor, I heard a faint noise behind me. I spun around and shone the flashlight down the stairs, but there was no one there. Must be my imagination. I quickened my pace and reached my apartment on the third floor. As I took out my key to open the door, I froze. A faint light was seeping from under the door. I was certain I had turned off all the lights when I left. My heart raced. I held my breath and slowly backed away. Just then, the door opened from the inside. "Jessica, you're home." It was Michael standing in the doorway. In the dim light, his face looked ashen. "How did you get in?" I clutched my keys, ready to run at any moment. "I have a key, remember?" He gave a bitter smile. "Our key. I always kept it. This is not our home. Get out. Let's just talk. One last time," he said, stepping aside. "Come in. I won't hurt you. We have nothing to talk about. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," he said with an eerie calm. "I have nothing left to lose anyway." Laura left with the baby. Her father is demanding his money back, threatening to sue me for fraud. The company is auditing my projects. The police are investigating me. I have nothing left, Jessica. His voice held a desperate tranquility that unnerved me even more. "You brought this on yourself," I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. "Now get out of my house." "Our house," he corrected. "This is my house too. Legally, it won't be for long." "Yeah, it won't be for long," he said weakly, then suddenly took a step towards me. I immediately stepped back, but it was too late. He grabbed my wrist. "Let go of me. 5 minutes, Jessica. Just 5 minutes. Hear me out." He held my wrist tightly, but his eyes were pleading. "After we talk, I'll leave. I'll never show up in front of you again." I stopped struggling, but with my other hand I fumbled for the pepper spray in my purse. Michael loosened his grip slightly but didn't let go. "I'm going to turn myself in. I'll pay back the money I took. But before that, I have one thing to ask you. What if? If I go to prison, please don't tell my parents. They're old, they couldn't handle it. Just tell them my overseas project got extended and I can't come back for a while." I looked at him. Suddenly, he seemed so pathetic. Even in this state, he was still trying to save face to concoct another lie. "And Laura's baby. If it's born, can you look after it a little? The child is innocent. I don't want them to be born without a father or with a father in prison. Why should I take care of your child with another woman? Because He stopped. "Because we were in love for 10 years. And because I know you're the kindest person in the world." "You're wrong," I said coldly. "You've already hardened my heart. I won't take care of your child and I won't help you with your lies." Michael, adults have to take responsibility for their actions. That includes facing the consequences. He looked at me, the light in his eyes slowly dying. "You really have changed. I told you. You made me this way." "Yeah, I did," he said with a bitter smile, finally releasing my wrist. "I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm sorry for the 10 years. I'm sorry for these last 5 years. I'm sorry for everything." He turned and walked slowly towards the stairs. Just before he turned the corner, he looked back. "You threw away that album, didn't you?" I froze for a second, realizing he meant the metal box. "Yes." "That's for the best," he nodded. "It's better that way." And then he was gone. His footsteps grew fainter and finally disappeared into the silence. I stood at the door for a long time. Only after I was sure he was really gone did I quickly open the door, go inside, lock it, and check every room. Nothing was out of place. Except on the living room table, there was a key, our spare key, and a bank card. Underneath was a note. The pin is your birthday. There's $80 0 inches there. It's the last thing I can give you. I'm sorry. I stared at the card, my feelings a tangled mess. Was this compensation atonement, or just a way to ease his own conscience? My phone suddenly rang. It was Sarah. Jessica, are you okay? Michael just made a strange call to me. Said if anything happens to him, I should take good care of you. He was just here. He just left. I briefly explained the situation. You should report him. That's breaking and entering. He's gone. I looked at the card. It's fine. He won't be back. How do you know? What if he's cornered and does something crazy? He won't, I said, not sure where the confidence came from. The person Michael loved most was himself. He wouldn't do anything truly extreme. His visit tonight felt more like a goodbye. The other end was quiet for a few seconds. Are you all right? You sound strange. I'm fine. Just tired. Let's talk tomorrow. After hanging up, I picked up the bank card. After a moment's hesitation, I put it in a drawer. This money shouldn't be mine, but it shouldn't be Michael's either. Maybe there was something I could do with it. The next day, Mr. Peterson informed me that Michael had contacted him directly and agreed to all my terms for the divorce and asset division. His only request was to process it as quickly as possible. What about the police? He doesn't seem to know they've opened a case yet, Mr. Peterson said. But we don't have much time. If he's taken into custody, the divorce proceedings will get complicated. I've requested an expedited judgment from the court. We should have it within 3 days. Thank you for your hard work. In the afternoon, I met with Laura. She looked more gaunt than before, but her eyes were determined. I've decided. I'm going to have this baby and raise it on my own. My parents have agreed to help. She stroked her slightly swollen belly. I'm done with Michael. Did he come see you? He came yesterday. Left some money, said it was for child support. Laura gave a bitter smile. I didn't take it. I don't want my child to grow up knowing their existence began that way. What are your plans for the future? I'm going to leave the city and move back to my parents' hometown. A change of scenery, a fresh start. She looked at me. Miss Park, this might sound strange, but I admire you. You're strong, decisive, you know what you want. I hope I can be like you someday. You will be, I said sincerely. Take care of yourself and raise your child well. As I was leaving, Laura called out to me. Miss Park, there's one more thing. I think Michael is suffering from depression. Last night, while packing his things, I found antidepressants he had hidden. It looks like he's been taking them for a while. I stopped. Since when, I don't know. The date on the prescription bottle was from last year. Laura hesitated. I have no right to defend him, but if you get the chance, could you convince him to see a doctor? No matter what he's done. I will. Thank you. Leaving Laura's place, my heart felt heavy. Depression. Michael, the always confident, self-assured man. Last night, the look in his eyes, that desperate calm, suddenly took on a new meaning. It wasn't resignation. It was an illness. I hesitated, then dialed his number. It rang for a long time, but no one answered. I tried again, same result. I called Mr. Peterson. Can you get in touch with Mr. Chen? It's urgent. I was just about to call you. We've lost contact with him. His company said he didn't show up for work today, and he's not answering his phone. The police are looking for him too. They found evidence that he was preparing to flee the country. It's not fleeing, I thought. It can't be. A terrible thought crossed my mind. Last night's words, his eyes, his resolute calm. Mr. Peterson, can you check if Michael has any insurance policies? A high-value life insurance policy. Why do you ask? Hold on, I think I saw something in the files. Yes. There's one high-value policy. The beneficiary was listed as Laura Vance, but she has since waived her claim. Anything else? Anything recent? I heard shuffling papers on the other end. After a few moments, Mr. Peterson's voice turned grave. I found it. A new policy taken out 3 months ago. The payout is $500, 000. The beneficiary is Jessica Park. My blood ran cold. Miss Park, are you there? Do you know what this means? How could I not? A man likely suffering from depression, cornered from all sides, takes out a high-value life insurance policy with his ex-wife as the beneficiary, and then disappears. This wasn't an escape. It was a farewell. Where could he be? My voice trembled. The police have tracked his phone signal. It's in an area of abandoned warehouses by the East River in Queens. Mr. Peterson's voice was urgent. The police are on their way, but they've advised family not to approach. Miss Park, are you listening? Give me the address, I said, grabbing my car keys and heading for the door. Miss Park, it's dangerous. Leave it to the police. The address. The other end was silent for a moment. Then a location was sent to my phone via text. I hung up and ran to the elevator. Every second felt like an eternity as the elevator descended. Michael's eyes last night, his words, his calm and his despair, depression, the life insurance, the disappearance. All the pieces were forming a picture I didn't dare to imagine. No, Michael wouldn't do that. He loves himself too much, he cares about his image too much. But the man I saw last night wasn't the Michael I knew. The light in his eyes was already gone. The elevator doors opened and I sprinted to the parking garage. I started the car, pulled out of the apartment complex, and merged into traffic. Rush hour was just beginning, and the streets were gridlocked. I honked my horn in frustration, but the cars ahead didn't move. My phone vibrated. It was Detective Williams. Miss Park, we've located Mr. Chen's car. It's in the warehouse district by the river. His phone and personal belongings were inside, but he's nowhere to be seen. We're expanding the search area. Do you know of any place he might go? I don't know. Wait, the river. When he was in college, he used to take long walks by the river when he was down. There was an old, almost abandoned observation pier there. I described its location. It was a place we used to go when we were dating a spot with a great view, but almost no one ever went there. We'll send a unit there immediately. Miss Park, do not go there by yourself. I repeat, it is dangerous. I didn't listen. I hung up, turned the wheel, and took a side street that would bypass the traffic and lead directly to the riverfront. It was getting dark and the streetlights were coming on. My heart pounded like a drum, my hands slick with sweat on the steering wheel. 15 minutes later, I reached the riverfront. In the distance, I could see several police cars parked at the entrance to the old pier. Their red and blue lights flashed in the twilight. I parked my car and ran. A young officer stopped me. Ma'am, you can't go in here. It's an active police scene. I'm Michael Chen's wife. Let me through. Miss Park. Detective Williams walked out from the pier frowning when he saw me. I told you not to come. Did you find him? He hesitated, then nodded. Yes. He's up there. But the situation is not good. He's standing on the other side of the railing and won't let us approach. The other side of the railing. That pier was over 30 feet high with the powerful current of the river below. Let me talk to him, I said. It's too dangerous. We have a negotiator. He won't listen to anyone else. Only me, I said firmly. Detective Williams, please. I know him. Williams looked at me for a long moment, then finally nodded. All right, but you must wear a vest and we will be right behind you. Okay. I put on the vest a policewoman handed me and followed Williams up the pier. It was old and abandoned, the railings rusted and broken in places. The wind coming off the river was strong, making it hard to keep my eyes open in the twilight. At the very end of the pier, a man stood with his back to us on the narrow ledge outside the railing, a space barely wide enough for one person. It was unmistakably Michael. Mr. Chen Williams shouted. Your wife is here. She wants to talk to you. Michael didn't turn, but I saw his body flinch. Michael, I called out, my voice carried away by the wind. It's me. He finally turned slowly. From this distance, I couldn't see his expression, but I knew it was him from his silhouette. Jessica. You shouldn't have come. His voice, eerily calm, drifted back on the wind. I came to take you home. Let's go home. Home. He laughed lightly. I don't have a home anymore. Laura is gone, you're leaving me, my parents are in Canada, and I don't have the courage to tell them the truth. I have nothing. You have yourself, I said slowly, walking closer. Behind me, the police motioned for me to stop. Myself. He shook his head. I am the biggest failure of all. I lied to you for 5 years, I hurt Laura. I'm about to lose my job and I'll probably go to prison. Is a person like me worth living? You're sick, Michael. Depression is treatable. I'll go to the hospital with you. Okay, it's too late, Jessica. I've come this far. I can't go back. No, you can always go back, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Laura is waiting for you. The baby needs a father. I can't forgive you, but I don't want to see you end things like this. The baby, he said weakly. That child should never have been born into this world. Having a father like me is the greatest misfortune of their life. You can change. Change for that child. Be a good father and atone for the mistakes you've made. Michael was silent for a long time. My heart felt like it was in my throat. The wind howled, and the sound of the river hitting the pylons was a dull thud. "Jessica, do you remember this place?" he asked suddenly. "Where we had our first date. You wore a white dress that day. Your hair was blowing in the wind. You said you wanted to see the ocean, and I promised I'd take you someday. So many promises I made. I didn't keep a single one. We can still go. Right now." "Where do you want to go?" "Let's go," I said, cautiously, taking another step closer. "No, I don't deserve it." He turned back towards the river. "Jessica, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If there's a next life—" "There is no next life," I screamed, my voice breaking into a sob. "Michael, if you jump, I will never forgive you for the rest of my life. I will hate you to my very core." His body flinched. "You think dying will end everything. What about Laura and the baby? What about your parents? What about me? How will you pay back the 5 years you owe me? Running away by dying is the act of a coward." "A coward." He finally broke his voice, tearing. "Yes, I am a coward. I don't have the courage to face you. I don't have the courage to face Laura. I'm just a man who knows how to run and lie. What's the point of me living?" "Then change," I said, taking one step after another. The police followed tensely behind me. "Change starting right now. Face your mistakes, take responsibility. Laura is waiting, your parents are waiting, and I'll wait too. You serve your time, get the help you need, and start over." "Start over," he repeated weakly. "Whether it's prison or therapy, you have to get through this first. As long as you're alive, there's hope." I was only a few feet away from him now. In the light from a distant streetlight, I could see his face. It was pale and gaunt, his eyes full of tears. "Jessica, the person I'm most sorry for in this world is you." "I know. So, you have to live. Pay me back with the rest of your life. If you die, there's truly nothing." He looked at me, his eyes a complex mix of guilt, despair, and a flicker of uncertainty. Just then, the piece of concrete he was standing on suddenly crumbled. Michael's body swayed, lost its balance, and fell backward. "No!" I lunged forward, my hand outstretched. I brushed against his jacket, but couldn't get a grip. He fell backward and disappeared into the river. Time seemed to freeze. I watched him vanish, my mind a complete blank. "Dive team now." Detective Williams's shout brought me back to reality. Police and firefighters rushed to the edge of the pier. A rescue boat was already speeding across the water. I sank to my knees, staring at the dark surface, my body trembling. "No. He's not going to die. He can't die." "Ms. Park, are you all right?" A policewoman came to my side. "He fell. The rescue team is already searching. They'll find him. Don't worry." How can I not worry? A 30-foot drop the cold river the dark night. I stood at the edge watching the rescue team search the water's surface. Searchlights scanned the riverboats, crisscrossed the area. Every second felt like an eternity. "We've got him," a voice crackled over a radio. "Near buoy number 3. He's alive. He's conscious." At the word alive, my legs gave out and I almost collapsed. The wail of an ambulance siren grew closer. Paramedics rushed onto the pier with a stretcher. A few minutes later, the rescue boat reached the shore, and Michael was carried up on the stretcher. He was soaked, his consciousness fading, but he was clearly alive. The paramedics immediately began emergency treatment and loaded him into the ambulance. When I tried to follow, an officer stopped me. "You can go to the hospital, but we will need a statement from you later." Is he going to be okay?" "He seems stable for now. But he could have hypothermia and internal injuries from the fall. He'll need a thorough examination." The ambulance doors closed and it sped away, lights flashing. I followed in a police car. I sat waiting on a chair in the emergency room. Sarah and Mr. Peterson arrived shortly after. Sarah ran to me and hugged me tight. "You scared me to death." Williams called and said, "You almost fell in too." "I'm fine. Michael will be fine." "He has to be," Sarah said, squeezing my hand. Mr. Peterson sat down beside us. The police's initial assessment is that it was an accident, not a suicide attempt. The concrete he was standing on was old and gave way. And he lowered his voice, they think, just before he fell. He was turning his body, trying to get back over the railing. In the last moment, he had wanted to live. I felt a small sense of relief at that. An hour later, a doctor came out. "Family of Michael Chen, here." "I'm his wife." I stood up. "The patient is stable. His body temperature has returned to normal. He has a mild concussion, so we'll need to monitor him." However, he is emotionally very unstable and delirious. We'll need a consultation with a psychiatrist. Depression, I said. He was likely suffering from depression. The doctor nodded and made a note. Understood. He's conscious now, but his mental state is fragile. You can see him, but please avoid any stressful topics. When I entered the room, Michael was lying in bed, his face pale, an IV in his hand. He avoided my gaze when he saw me. Jessica. I'm sorry. Don't talk. Just rest. I didn't do it on purpose. I swear. That concrete just broke. I know. It was an accident. But I wanted to jump. His voice was very small. When I was standing there, I really wanted to jump. But when you screamed, right as I was falling, I suddenly didn't want to die. I was scared, Jessica. I was so scared of dying. Being scared of dying is a good thing. It means you still want to live. Does a person like me deserve to live? That's not for you to decide, I said, pulling a chair over. Living is a right, not a reward. If fate saved you, it means your story isn't over yet. He looked at me and started to cry. Jessica, what do I do now? I don't know anything. First you get better. Your body and your mind. Then you face what you have to face. The legal consequences. Your responsibility to Laura. Your responsibility to your parents. One step at a time. Will you? Will you be there with me? I was silent. I didn't know how to answer that question. No, I guess not, he said with a bitter smile. I shouldn't have asked. You should go, Jessica. Thank you for saving me today. But from now on, don't worry about me. I won't stop worrying about you. But I won't be with you like before, I said honestly. I'll help you connect with doctors and handle the necessary arrangements. But that's it. Michael, our marriage is over. That won't change. I know, he said, closing his eyes. I know. I left the room and found the attending physician telling him about Michael's possible depression and requesting a psychiatric consultation. The doctor said he would arrange it immediately. It was late when I left the hospital. Sarah drove me home. We were silent for most of the ride. Only when we pulled up to my apartment did she speak. Are you really going to help him? After he almost got you killed? I don't know, I said honestly. But seeing him like that, I couldn't hate him. I just felt pity. You have too soft a heart. Maybe I do, I said with a wry smile. But I'm not going back to him. That's for sure. I'm helping him because we loved each other for 10 years and I can't just watch him destroy himself. As for Laura and the baby, that's his responsibility to face. I'll let Laura know what happened. What comes after is for them to figure out. Sarah sighed and hugged me. Whatever you decide, I support you. Just don't push yourself too hard. I won't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stood on my balcony looking at the city lights, thinking about the day's events. After coming so close to death, many things no longer seemed important. Hate required too much energy and I was already exhausted. My phone vibrated. A text from Laura. I heard about the accident. Is he okay? I replied. He's in the hospital. He's physically stable, but he needs psychiatric treatment. Can I go see him? Yes. But be prepared. He's not in a good state. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. And thank you for saving him today. I hate what he did to me, but I never wished him dead. Me neither. I put down the phone and looked up at the night sky. There were no stars, only the city lights painting the sky a reddish hue. Michael had survived. But the road ahead would not be easy for any of us. He would have to face the judgment of the law, the healing of his mind, and the guilt he bore towards everyone he had hurt. 3 months later, in late autumn, I stood in front of the courthouse. In my hand was the final judgment. The divorce was granted, and the asset division was decided mostly in my favor. I received the majority of our joint savings. The issue of the Athelred apartment was to be resolved between Michael and Laura separate from our marital assets. And the car, of course, remained mine. The sky was gray and a light drizzle was falling. I didn't open my umbrella, letting the cool drops fall on my face. It was refreshing. Miss Park. Mr. Peterson came out of the courthouse and held an umbrella over my head. It's over. Yes, it's over, I said, taking the umbrella but not opening it. Mr. Chen's trial is next month. The evidence for embezzlement is clear, so he's looking at 3 to 5 years. His defense is arguing for probation, but it's unlikely. Mr. Peterson paused. However, his depression diagnosis might have some impact on the sentencing. How is he doing now? He's cooperating with his treatment and is reportedly much more emotionally stable. I heard Laura sometimes brings their son to visit him. So, the baby was born. Laura had given birth a month ago and named him Ian. Ian Vance. She hadn't used Michael's surname, but she allowed him visits. It was probably the most grace she could offer. Will you go see him? Before the trial, I shook my head. No. Some goodbyes are meant to be said only once. Mr. Peterson nodded in understanding. What are your plans now? I'm going to rest for a bit, then travel. For years, all I did was work and wait for one person. I never really saw the world. That's a wonderful idea. If you need anything, you know where to find me. Thank you, Mr. Peterson, for everything. After we parted ways, I walked to the parking garage. The rain was coming down harder now. I opened my umbrella. It felt starkly black against the gray sky. My phone vibrated. It was Sarah. How did it go? It's done. Let's have a celebration party tonight. No party. Let's just have dinner. Invite Daniel Kim. I still haven't properly thanked him. No problem. See you at the usual place. Daniel Kim. The beginning of everything. If I hadn't met him in that elevator that night, I might still be foolishly waiting. He had not only testified in court but also helped me in many ways, including introducing me to Mr. Evans. I would never forget his kindness. That evening, we met at our favorite restaurant. Sarah and Daniel were already there. Sarah waved when she saw me. Here comes our Statue of Liberty. Don't tease, I said, sitting down and turning to Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for everything. Don't mention it. I just told the truth, he said, looking a little shy. To be honest, I regretted it a bit afterward. I was worried you'd be too shocked. But seeing you now, I know I did the right thing. You did a very good thing, I said. The truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a lie. We ordered food and talked about what we'd been up to. Daniel was considering applying for an overseas project at his company for a change of scenery. Sarah had been offered a partnership at her firm but was hesitant because of the increased responsibility and lack of free time. What about you, Jess? Any plans? Sarah asked. I'm going traveling. First, I'll explore the coast of Maine, then maybe Southeast Asia. And finally, spend some time in Europe. Alone. Yeah. I'll be fine on my own. I need to clear my head. Sarah patted my hand. Just make sure you stay in touch this time. No disappearing acts. I promise. After dinner, Daniel left first, and Sarah and I walked along the river. The rain had stopped, but the wind was damp and chilly. We bought hot drinks and sat on a bench. Have you really let it all go? Sarah asked. It would be a lie to say I've completely forgotten. But it doesn't hurt anymore, I said, cradling my hot chocolate. It's like a scab on a wound. It's fine as long as you don't pick at it. And I've realized something lately. Life without Michael isn't so terrible. I make my own decisions, plan my own time. I don't have to wait for anyone or be lied to by anyone. You've grown up, Jess. I had to, I said with a wry smile. Honestly, I've done a lot of thinking these past 3 months. I can't forgive Michael's deceit, but I wasn't entirely blameless either. I put too many expectations on him. I thought marriage was my entire life. When he left, I basically lost myself. Now I'm finding myself again. I looked at the lights across the river. Slowly, without rushing. Sarah leaned her head on my shoulder. Whatever you decide, I'm always on your side. I know. A few days later, I was packed and ready to leave. My first destination was the coast of Maine, a place I had always wanted to visit but never had. Michael had promised to take me there when he got back from Africa. Now I was going alone. The day before I left, I went to the hospital for a final checkup. The wrist I'd sprained when I lunged for Michael hadn't fully healed. The doctor said it was recovering well, but advised me not to overdo it. Leaving the hospital, I hesitated for a moment, then drove towards the rehabilitation center where Michael was staying. He was undergoing court-mandated therapy for his depression and suicide attempt. I didn't go inside, just stood outside for a while. The center was quiet and clean. Through the iron fence, I could see patients strolling in the garden. I spotted him. Michael was sitting on a bench, motionless, staring at the sky. He had lost a lot of weight, and the patient gown made him look even more frail. A nurse approached and handed him a book. He nodded and took it. He didn't see me. It was better that way. I turned and walked away. Some connections once broken are meant to stay that way. Back home, I took care of one last thing. I used the bank card Michael had left, and the $80 0 inches it to set up an education fund in Ian's name. A lawyer would handle all the paperwork while I was traveling. Why would you do that? Sarah asked, unable to understand. That was his compensation to you. I don't need compensation. But that child might, I said, looking at the fallen leaves outside my window. And it's my own way of putting a period at the end of that 10-year sentence. The next morning, I arrived at the airport with my suitcase. I checked in and waited to board. As the plane took off, I called my parents to tell them I was leaving and not to worry. Take care of yourself, sweetie, and call often, my mother's voice trembled. I will, Mom. You and Dad stay healthy. I'll come see you as soon as I get back. Okay, have a safe trip. After hanging up, I turned off my phone. The plane taxied down the runway and soared into the sky. Through the window, the city I lived in grew smaller and smaller, then disappeared into the clouds. Goodbye, my past. Goodbye, Michael. Autumn in Maine was beautiful. The sky was an unusually deep blue, the clouds pristine white. I stayed in a guest house in a quiet town. I slept in late every day and wandered through the village. After a week, I hiked a mountain in Acadia National Park. Standing at the summit, looking at the endless landscape, I felt my heart expand. All my worries seemed insignificant. I sat at the top for a long time until my hands and feet were numb with cold before heading down. When I got back to the guest house, the owner had a warm bowl of stew waiting for me. Wow, you climbed that mountain all by yourself, that's impressive. I wanted to test myself. Good for you. Sometimes a person has to push themselves. That's the only way to know how far you can go. She was right. If you never push yourself, how will you ever know how far you can go? After 15 days in Maine, I continued my journey. To New Orleans, to Chicago, and eventually back to New York. I saw different landscapes, met different people. I met many women on the road, heard their stories, and shared my own. 2 months later, I returned to New York. It felt both like a strange city and a familiar home. I got a text from Sarah. Michael's verdict came out today. 3 years probation, 4 years suspended sentence, plus a fine. He said he won't appeal. Laura brought the baby to the courthouse. He cried. I stared at the text for a long time, then replied, Okay, tell them I wish the baby good health and happiness. Where are you? When are you coming back? I'm in the city. I think I'll stay for a while. It feels like it's time to come home. Travel safe. I miss you. Me too. I put down the phone and went up to the roof of my guest house. The New York night sky didn't have many stars, but the city lights were like stars themselves. I remembered a night long ago watching the city lights from a rooftop bar with Michael. He had said that every light was a wish. His biggest wish, he'd said, was to grow old with me. The lights were still there, but the wish was broken. But that was okay. I could make new wishes now. I clasped my hands together and whispered to the night sky, From now on, let me live bravely, freely, and wholly for myself. A breeze blew past as if in answer to my wish. The next day, I started looking for a new place to live. The divorce, Michael's trial, the long journey, it was all over. I was finally at a new starting line. I would no longer be bound by the past. I would only move forward. I found a new apartment overlooking the East River. It wasn't large, but it was sunny and had a great view. I spent a week decorating it, filling the space with furniture and art I loved and souvenirs from my travels. When Sarah came for the housewarming, she was impressed. Wow, Jess. This finally feels like your home. It's totally you. Right, it's all me. So what's the next plan? Well, I started a travel blog and the response has been pretty good. A publisher even contacted me about writing a book. That's amazing. You have to do it. I'm thinking about it. I don't want it to be just a travelogue. I want to write about a woman's journey of self-discovery. My story. And the stories of the other women I met on the road. That's even better. I'll be your biggest fan. That evening, I sat on the balcony of my new home, watching the lights across the river. Quiet music played from my phone, a glass of wine in my hand. The wind was a little chilly, but my heart was warm. I remembered something a guide had told me while I was hiking. The mountain will not lower itself for you, but you can train yourself to climb it. It was true. Life doesn't lower its difficulty for you, but you can cultivate the courage to face its challenges. And now I had that courage. My phone vibrated. It was a picture from Sarah. A photo from Ian's 100 day celebration. The baby was chubby with big eyes. He looked a lot like Laura, but I could see a faint trace of Michael in his nose and mouth. Laura says to thank you for the education fund. And she said when Ian is a little older, she wants to meet you in person to thank you properly. I replied, okay, when the time is right. I put down the phone, raised my wine glass towards the river and said quietly, to new beginnings, to a free spirit, and to the courage to always move forward. To me, to Jessica, there were no stars in the night sky, but the city lights shone brightly, and every light was a story, a life,